This young man is our protagonist, Eugene. Although he's looking a bit rough right now, he'll get a glow-up soon enough. However, to put it simply, he's about to die. It all began with Eugene being a vampire relentlessly hunted by the Holy Knights. In the end, despite all his efforts, he was still run through by the sword of a Holy Knight. Their leader, Diahit, shouted with pride, "Hey, you vampire! Scurrying around and hiding for the past half-year must have been fun, huh? I bet you took plenty of lives during that time. You filthy beast! This little game of mocking us Holy Knights was actually pretty impressive. But your play ends here. Not even the gods can forgive your sins anymore. Be proud to die by my hand and help me earn the title of Vampire Slayer. The sin of deceiving the Church, of not accepting the judgment of the Holy Knights. This pathetic state you're in says it all." As he said this, Diahit suddenly broke into a sinister smile. "Oh, and you know what? The reason I haven't caught you until now is because I did it on purpose. Me delaying my entry into the pursuit squad and letting you run rampant all this time. It's been a long while since a rare vampire like you has appeared. I had to play with my prey for a bit to squeeze more money out of the situation, and it was a good chance to put those heretics in their place." Hearing this, Eugene could no longer hold back and lunged forward. He knew, after all, that this was a world where the strong devour the weak. Everything is determined by the power of the rulers. Whether Eugene liked it or not, he still had to flee. A long slash came so fast that Eugene didn't even have time to defend himself. Diahit zipped past him, displaying his spectacular victory. What a disgusting thought. He wore a clear expression of mockery and contempt for Eugene. "Your very existence is an insult to the Church, a blasphemy against our name." He passed away, filled with endless regret. If only I had one more chance. Suddenly Eugene awoke, his body completely healed and drenched in sweat. He panted for a moment, then wondered, what the hell is this? The situation was so surreal that Eugene was confused. What's going on? My neck was pierced, but my limbs are intact. I was sure I was dead. Was it a dream? No, that can't be. This is definitely the hut I was in before being hunted by the Church's Holy Knights. The timing is half a year ago. I think it's right before the Subjugation squad began their hunt. It must be. Eugene stood silently in the cave. Could it be? I've returned to the past. At this thought, his hands clenched in determination. If I've truly been given another chance? This was a remote forest without a single person in sight near the village of Bizoagwin. Eugene had been living here to avoid human eyes. He was just a weak, powerless vampire. Because he was weak, he had to hold his breath and hide, barely scraping by each day. Although Eugene didn't crave human blood once in the distant past, he couldn't suppress his instincts and sowed the seeds of disaster. The very next day, mercenaries were swarming the place, and 5 days later, Holy Knights were scouring the entire village. Whether it took a month or an entire year, they were determined to find Eugene. Out of immense fear, he had lived in the forest, drinking only the blood of wild animals for 12 long years. He had no idea why he was sent back to the past to live once more, but one thing was certain. If I've been given this chance, I absolutely will not repeat my past mistakes. If living in hiding just leads to death anyway, then I'd rather become so strong that even if I'm discovered, they won't be able to do a thing to me. Using the methods of a vampire from now on, I will change the way I survive. Vampires can absorb power by draining the life from a target with strong blood. The stronger the bloodline, the greater the power absorbed. And there one is. A large, ferocious Doimer emerged, the ruler of this forest. Its attack was so fierce that Eugene was momentarily helpless. The Doimer thrashed about wildly, knocking him onto the open ground. Eugene quickly got back up to assess the situation. With this weak body, all I can do is put everything I have into dodging its attacks. But if I can just create a single small scratch. He faced the monster filled with the intense desire to drink its blood. Eugene's former survival method was to erase his own existence as much as possible. But now that he knew that path was a dead end, there was no reason to hesitate anymore. More than anything else at this moment, Eugene needed great power. His sword shattered against its hide. The Doimer seized the chance to whip its tail, sending Eugene flying. He bounced several times before landing far in the distance. Eugene was severely hit. It was a life-or-death situation. A massive shadow loomed over him, and his eyes widened in shock as its enormous maw gaped open. Did I underestimate the power of a Doai? Sir. A Dwemer is a term for creatures that roam the natural world, not monsters that live in demonic realms. Even in environments devoid of magical energy, some doamers possess a magic stone. It's an item sometimes more precious than jewels. To a doamer, the magic stone is its very life core. If he could find its magic stone, perhaps Eugene could turn the tide. But the power gap was too vast. Perhaps Eugene had taken this second chance too lightly, facing off against a doamer that ruled the forest. It would likely destroy Eugene before he could even land a single scratch. The monster plunged into the water, creating a violent surge. It dragged Eugene with it like a stored meal. He fell into utter despair. Perhaps he had been too arrogant, thinking that if he was given one chance, there would be a second and a third. No, I've never rated myself that highly. Suddenly, the monster's eyes widened in terror. That's precisely why I always had to grovel. Eugene had done something to inflict pain on it, holding his breath and struggling just to stay alive. Just to survive, I chose to fight. This intense thought caused Eugene's entire body to begin glowing. I must fight. I must win. If he didn't win, there would be no other chance. Eugene reached for its heart. If he failed, there would be no second time. Eugene reached out closer, desperate to seize it. He opened his mouth, the red gem right before his eyes. Because survival means living by stepping on the blood of others. After the shocking incident, the water's surface became calm again. Suddenly, a brilliant light flashed from beneath the water. The mangled body of the doamer floated up. I promised myself that if I got another chance, I wouldn't choose to run. I'd choose the path of battle. The entire atmosphere turned deep crimson. So right now, I will seize both fresh blood and victory. Eugene stood there calmly. Looking at his new body, he glanced over at the enormous monster and thought I only needed the forest master's blood. But it absorbed the magic stone, too. The magical power in this old doamer's stone is much stronger than I thought. Its color is completely different from the ones before. It's bigger, too. The power from the magic stone can cover me like a black cloth. With this, maybe I can withstand the sun and move about during the day. He learned about this forest master from the time he was captured by mercenaries. Back then, the swamp was small, so no one knew of the creature's existence. But after heavy rains and floods, its territory expanded. It appeared and attacked the mercenaries amidst the chaos. Eugene had drunk a mouthful of blood from the injured forest master. Thanks to that, he defeated a few of the men and escaped. Knowing its effects, Eugene was determined to drain its life force once more. Even though my power has increased a little, it's still not enough to face Night Diahite. I have to avoid fights I have no chance of winning, at least until I'm sure I can. Night Diahite. No matter where I hide, he can find me. It seems he has a special ability to detect monsters or spirits. Therefore, instead of continuing to hide, I must build up enough power to confront him. The sun is rising soon. I can't test the power of this magic stone right away. I have to get back before sunrise. Suddenly, an ethereal voice called out, grabbing his attention. The false master is dead. He was the one who seized my domain. He turned a beautiful lake into a rotten swamp. You have given him a gruesome death, and for that I thank you. But you dare to trespass in this domain, staining the soil with blood. For this sin, there is no forgiveness. This is the domain of I, Madion, the guardian of the lake. The waters shall rage, the earth shall tremble in fury, and you will be cursed, your body torn to 100 pieces. Though even if I say that this bald old vampire probably can't hear me, Only a few special creatures can perceive spirits. Ignoring the taunts, Eugene asked it, "What are you?" Hearing his question, the creature froze. He can't possibly see me, right? Eugene repeated himself. I asked, "What are you?" Madion was completely stunned by this turn of events. You can see me. You're from the blood tribe, aren't you? Then, did you hear what I just said? Eugene guessed what it was thinking. You mean the part about the bald old vampire? Without further argument, it bowed its head to introduce itself. I am Madion, a water spirit. I was once the master of this place. But 15 years ago, that wretched crocodile stole my domain and I became his slave. Well, no. More accurately, we had a strategic alliance. If the water became too foul, prey would no longer come, so he let me control the area around the shore, in any case, thanks to you. That wretched crocodile is dead. This place can finally be cleansed. It's all because of you. I saw it with my own eyes, an old man, a bald one being swallowed by the crocodile. But just when I thought he was dead, there was a huge explosion and a handsome man appeared. Did you disguise yourself to deceive the crocodile? How incredibly thorough of you. He paid no mind to what Madion was saying, concerned only with himself. My tattoo, it's disappearing. Why is that? Ah, right, I should be more formal. Your tattoo is magnificent, sir. Does it have a special meaning? Is it a warrior's crest? Who are the people you've killed? He shook his head, replying indifferently. I don't know. They've been on my body for a very long time. He didn't remember when he became a vampire. It was as if Eugene had been born this way. Even in his most distant memories, these 10 tattoos were seared onto his body. Unable to remember his distant past, Eugene had only known a life on the run, never daring to truly face himself. What if these tattoos were some kind of magical seal? Could it be that one of them was broken today? I'm leaving now. Guard this forest carefully. Madian seemed reluctant to let him leave. Oh, it's been such a long time since I've had anyone to talk to. Are you really leaving now, sir? As time went on, fewer people were able to see spirits, so I've been terribly bored. I just wish I had someone to talk to. Eugene reminded Madian of its primary task. Aren't you going to restore this swamp to a lake? It seemed the spirit didn't want to. Do you have any idea how long it would take to purify this whole area? I'd much rather invite a handsome, pale-faced gentleman such as yourself to drink some clean water. I am a water spirit after all, so I can create the most wonderful water you've ever tasted. Drink this pure water, and your complexion will become even more stunning. The moment he saw how Madian produced the water, Eugene recoiled. Get lost, he commanded. It saw you leaving. It immediately tried to stop you, crying, Sir, wait. This humble servant can still purify any water source for you to drink. Eugene was determined to leave. He didn't need it. But the stubborn Madian chased after him. Instead of refusing, it would be much better if you just accept, Sir, you're a vampire now. A few days later in Bazawawin village. On another quiet moonlit night, someone burst in shouting, Village chief, come quick! The red-eyed monster has arrived. He exclaimed in surprise, Huh? The whole village was gathered around something, their faces filled with astonishment. What is this? Then they all shouted with excitement, Oh my gosh, look, it's a wild boar. We've got pork to eat. There's so much, Chief, look. There's even more than usual today. Can we take all of it? A curious young boy asked the village chief. What do you think the red-eyed monster is thinking? Normally, he only leaves prey on the night of a full moon. The chief understood what he meant, but he didn't know the reason. It's not supposed to be time for him to appear. Everyone thought of the kind stranger and outcast living at the foot of a distant mountain, whom the villagers called the red-eyed monster. For over 15 years, he had lived near the village without ever harming anyone. On the contrary, every full moon he would bring game to share with the villagers. No one could understand his motives. Eugene made a request to the chief, May I enter the village for a little while? Over 15 years ago, when he first appeared, everyone was terrified. But because Eugene regularly brought them meat, almost like paying a tribute, the villagers were no longer afraid. This strange relationship had gone on for over 15 years. Everyone welcomed Eugene like one of their own. It's been a while. Is there something you wanted to discuss? Removing his hood, Eugene explained, I've lived far from the village all this time because of an illness. But after a long period of seclusion, it's finally cured, so I came to share the news. I've received so much help from this village, and now I want to repay you. If the village ever faces any trouble... The moment they saw his face, the entire village stared wide-eyed with astonishment. Who? Huh! They couldn't believe that the Eugene standing right in front of them was so incredibly handsome. Just call for me anytime. The brilliant aura of a handsome man was blinding. The red-eyed monster. Good heavens! The chief couldn't believe his eyes. That outcast from the forest, was he a half-demon? Or maybe a nobleman, even though he always wore a mask? To think he was this handsome underneath. Just then Madian popped up confused. Eugene, did you give away all the meat you hunted just for them? What are you thinking? But vampires are supposed to be all about blood slaughter and death. He didn't see it that way, so he explained it to the creature. In human society, building relationships is crucial. That's why I'm bestowing these favors. Madian persistently tried to stop him. You intend to integrate with them, without eating them. But you said you'd be leaving in a few days. Then why do these relationships even matter? Eugene lowered his mask and spoke of the future. I thought it had nothing to do with me, but I was wrong. I can't just stand by and watch what's coming. When the mercenaries storm this place, all the villagers will be eliminated. Madian cried out in shock. What? Eugene thought of that boy. He thought to himself, they're coming to Bzawin village to capture a boy and take him to the Lord's castle. To keep everyone quiet, they'll clean up the entire village. If I don't stop this, it will lead to the Holy Knights being dispatched here. It was skeptical of his story. Could what Eugene said really be true? If it is, then how could he know what's coming? Is the entire village really going to be wiped out even after being with Eugene for a few days? I still don't understand him. What is he thinking? As for whether it was true or not, Eugene would let time be the judge. For now, we just have to wait and see. But before that, we need to earn some trust from the villagers so they see that I'm harmless. Madion, looking clueless, asked about the two matters. What does the mercenaries causing trouble have to do with building trust? For not looking where it was going, it slammed right into him. Madion grabbed its face and yelled, "Ow, that hurts!" It looked at him and asked, "Hey, why'd you suddenly stop?" It turned out a squad of guards was aggressively approaching. The moment they spotted him, they started muttering, "What the hell, that guy looks strange. Seems like he just came out of the village. What should we do?" "We were planning on sneaking into the village. That guy looks pretty effeminate. He's unarmed and alone, too. It'll be a hassle if he starts screaming." With that, he lunged forward, swinging his axe. "Don't let it get a chance to call for help!" My Zion screamed in panic, trying to warn Eugene to run. The man leaped high into the air, ready to deliver the final strike. At that moment, Eugene's eyes turned deep crimson, befitting the name Red-Eyed Monster. He just casually raised his hand, and the man was gone forever. The look on the faces of the others said it all. My Zion, think about it. Why do I need to build trust with the villagers I charged in and wiped them out precisely to avoid suspicion? And that's exactly why I'm going to take care of these mercenaries cleanly. The air grew cold under the setting sun. A terrified scream suddenly rang out. "That guy! He's a vampire! He's not human!" With a crazed look, he swung his greatsword down. "A vampire, ha! What's there to be scared of? This is even better. If we capture him alive and hand him over to the church, we'll get a massive reward." But things don't always go as planned. In an instant, a powerful force stopped Bio's greatsword in its tracks. He trembled as he faced Eugene's bloodthirsty gaze. Eugene said nothing, simply planting a brutal punch into Bayo's gut. The man, still reveling arrogantly in the thrill of the fight, thought, "This guy's the real deal. Even if it's just his corpse, I have to bring it back." As Eugene calmly twirled his sword, the arrogant man shouted, "This vampire's head is mine." But in an instant, Eugene took him down with ease. Just then, a madman with a sharp spear charged forward, screaming. "You damn demon!" his comrade yelled from behind. "You idiot, don't just rush in blindly." With a look of fierce determination, the madman declared, "I'll grind you to dust." But Eugene effortlessly blocked the attack with his bare hands. But his hand was bleeding profusely. The madman, breaking out in a cold sweat, trembled, unable to believe it. You blocked it." Eugene's piercing gaze, his pupils glowing a fiery red, sent a shiver down his spine. Night was falling, and in the blink of an eye, Eugene cut the madman down with a single slash, splattering fresh blood everywhere. He then brought his foot down, crushing the man's face, without a hint of pity. He was surrounded by mercenaries, all writhing in pain on the ground below, but Eugene stood unfazed and declared, "And the night is my time." His voice was chilling. "The perfect time to hide the bloodstains." The remaining men, now terrified, warned one another, "Don't charge in recklessly anymore. That guy's a monster. Let's attack him together." A fire blazed brightly, lending a sense of warmth to the surrounding darkness. A few mercenaries, their faces pale, stammered in disbelief. "No, it's impossible!" All over the ground were bodies strewn about near the large fire. How could this have happened? Was this all done by that red-eyed monster? No. "Did you do this?" Eugene, his red eyes filled with a murderous light, answered, "Of course not. I found them when I was coming back from hunting. I was checking on my traps and saw that they'd all been killed. It looks like this group was ambushed on their way to Bzoawin village. The culprits, a pack of wolves. The others yelled, 'That's impossible.' They looked down and saw a black wolf with terrifying fangs and claws." "Black wolves?" Eugene said calmly. "Yes. Coincidentally, I managed to take them down while they were distracted feeding on the bodies. As you can see, sir, I killed a few of them, but at first they even outnumbered the mercenaries. The ones that escaped are probably still lurking around watching us. The leader was suspicious. Those creatures are known for being the most vicious in this entire region. How could you possibly have handled them on your own? You're sure this wasn't done by this red-eyed monster here?" Just then a voice called out, "Chief, this body has clear wolf claw marks on it. Over here, too. They were all mauled by wolves." Eugene thought to himself, "Black wolves are vicious, but they wouldn't be reckless enough to attack a group of mercenaries this large." The leader spoke up, My apologies, I suspected you without any reason. He replied calmly, It's all right, it's an easy mistake to make. So what are your plans for the bodies, sir? I couldn't just leave them be, which is why I came to inform you. The village chief answered, We can't just leave them here to be eaten by wild beasts. They must be buried properly in the village. My Zion then whispered to Eugene, Sir, do you do nothing but lie every time you open your mouth? After you finished off the mercenaries, the wolves smelled the blood and came looking. Then you dealt with them, too. He even carved the bite marks onto the bodies himself as a disguise. Covering his tracks is one thing, but why is he so concerned about his reputation? If he'd just left immediately, he wouldn't be caught up in this mess. Then again, if he had, he would have definitely been a suspect. It seems he's scheming something. Eugene spoke up. Oh, and there's this. I went through their pockets looking for personal belongings and found this. It looks like a letter belonging to the mercenaries. Do you want to read it? He definitely has to read it now, my Zion thought. The village chief is holding a letter with Lord Tygon's seal. What's going on? Reading the letter, the village chief broke into a cold sweat. What? Is this real? Philip? Is Philip in the village? The crowd murmured curiously. What does it say, chief? Yes, Philip is still in the village. What on earth is happening? Who would have guessed? The village chief suddenly screamed, Philip might be the illegitimate son of Lord Tygon. Those mercenaries, they came to escort him. As soon as he finished, the villagers erupted in whispers. What, that kid is a noble. Meanwhile, Cormia stared blankly at the dark red blood spraying through the air. This is unbelievable. He took down this many people, all by himself. At this rate, we'll all end up as corpses. Don't hesitate. Fight. Even if he's a monster, he still only has 2 arms and 2 legs. Don't just charge in blindly. Surround him. His face is a mess of wounds and he's trembling. He can't get away. And then this guy shows up out of nowhere. Cormia shuddered as he watched Eugene's powerful slashes land one after another. Just then, those sharp, blazing red eyes turned and locked onto him. He swiftly threw a punch straight into Cormia's gut, sending him off balance and slamming his entire body into a tree trunk. The impact created a piercing sound that echoed through the forest. After knocking Cormia down, Eugene quickly fled. On the ground, Cormia dragged himself along, whimpering, Stop! Stop! Were you waiting for us all along? Why are you targeting us? We just had business in the village on the other side of the mountain, that's all. At that moment, Eugene walked towards him, his eyes filled with menace. I'm just curious. What business you have in that village? That village is mine. His eyes welled with tears. Please, spare me, I'm sorry I didn't know you were the Blood King who rules this village. But we weren't here to hunt vampires, I swear. There's an illegitimate child of the Tion family hiding there. He was thought to be missing, but it turns out he's been hiding out here all this time. We only came to find him. He replied calmly, You're a good liar. What's your real objective? You mobilized this many men for just that? What were you planning to wipe out the entire village? Cormia screamed in terror. No, it's not. It's not quite like that. But the truth is, we weren't hired by the Tion family. Our clients are the 2 legitimate heirs, Camisa Tion and Butter Tion. It must be because of some political conflict, and that's why they hired us. We only came to capture the illegitimate child, that's all. We brought so many men just as a precaution in case something went wrong. Please spare my life! Hearing his story, Eugene gritted his teeth in anger. So among the masterminds, of course it would be him. Butter Tion, commander of the vampire hunting squad. As a holy knight, it would be difficult for Butter to directly order mercenaries to slaughter villagers. That would just be their own greedy ambition, but that very act is what led the holy knights to find me. When the whole village vanished, they mobilized a massive force to hunt me down. He trembled as he spoke. We were just taking this chance to earn a little extra cash, sir. If we had known a Blood King was here, we absolutely would not have dared. After hearing him out, Eugene simply brushed off his clothes, turned, and started to walk away. Before he left, he offered a piece of kind advice. All right, then. Be careful of the wolves on your way back. Still trembling, the man hadn't fully recovered. You're really letting me live. Oh, thank you, sir, But who would have known that a second later Eugene would slash him across the neck? Fresh blood sprayed everywhere. Myzion teased, If you were just going to kill him anyway, why pretend to spare him? Eugene simply replied, I revealed that I'm a vampire. I can't leave any witnesses. He glanced in a certain direction. Besides, look at the wolves over there drooling at the smell of blood. Meanwhile, the villagers were questioning their chief. Is it really true? The chief replied, Yes. The dead mercenaries were guards sent to escort Philip to the city. They gasped in astonishment. Philip, the boy who's been living alone since his mother passed away last year. He came to our village 8 years ago. Could it be? The chief spoke up. The mercenaries who came for Philip have been killed by wild beasts. What are we going to do now? Eugene approached and chimed in. So this boy Philip needs to be taken to the Lord's city. The village chief nodded eagerly. Yes, that's right. But he interrupted. The mercenaries might not have been able to handle the beasts around here. But I've lived in this forest a long time. I can escort the boy, keep him safe from the animals, and get him to the city. The village chief was astonished. You mean you're going to escort Philip? We couldn't possibly trouble you like that. Eugene smiled, friendly yet mysterious. It's no trouble. As a knight, I cannot turn a blind eye. Mazian, standing to one side, whispered, Eugene, you're really laying it on thick. Just then, Mazian's jaw dropped in utter shock as if he'd seen something horrifying. The large crowd of villagers also stared with wide, surprised eyes. He had to part his lips and speak up. Hey, you! He began, his lips parting slightly as he spoke politely. Then, smiling, he raised his voice. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Cyan Eugene of the Eugene family. As if anyone would believe that, he cut in. Eugene's introduction sent the villagers into a panic. The red-eyed monster is a noble. Hey, listen here, that's disrespectful of you. You should call him sir. Mazian leaned in close to Eugene's ear to remind him, even if you had to lie, you've gone way too far. He smiled. Seeing their reactions, he knew instantly that these people had never seen a noble before. This was a remote village where a boy hiding in the forest could suddenly become nobility. It caused a stir throughout the village. Even if I pretend to be a noble, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference. With admiring eyes, they continuously praised him. Sir Eugene, were you truly a knight? Why did you live in seclusion in the forest for over 15 years? Was it because you wanted to heal an injury you sustained during training? Or is that just a form of training for knights? He just explained vaguely. For various reasons, I cut my ties with humanity and came to live in this forest. They immediately started shouting, no wonder! I knew you were different from the moment you brought food to help the village. It must be because you have the superhuman skills of a knight that you could live alone in the forest. The village chief suddenly spoke up. But our village is very poor. We have nothing to repay you with, Eugene said in a low voice. That's all right. I just want to relieve some of my fatigue. May I stay in the village for the night? The village chief smiled kindly. That's a small matter. Our home may be cramped, but please rest here tonight. In the open air under the clear blue sky, Eugene stared into the distance with dazed eyes. He revealed his beastly blood-red hand touching the wall lightly. This is an enhancement ability from the master of the forest. His sharp eyes holding blood-red jewels full of murderous intent made one's skin crawl. That beastly hand continued to mysteriously feel along the wall. Thanks to this black cloth wrapping, I can get some protection from the sun. This will make the journey a little less difficult. Mazian cursed at him. You foolish vampire. What were you thinking telling such a blatant lie? You claim to be a knight, but you can't even read. Eugene replied quickly, yeah, I might get found out someday, but we're leaving soon anyway. So, it doesn't really matter? Mazian asked. Now tell me, what's your real purpose? After living quietly in the forest for so long, why suddenly befriend the villagers, and even accept a request? Just then a voice called out, Sir, we've finished our preparations. You may depart whenever you are ready. He whispered to Mazian, see, in just one night I've already gained status. Humans tend to believe in authority more than in wrangling over words. You can lie as much as you want, but using status can reduce 100 lies to just one. Only this village would believe such a hasty lie. The nobles would hardly be so gullible. Therefore, from now on, I will turn that lie into the truth. Thanks to his previous good deeds, Eugene had built up the villagers' trust. The man smiled brightly. I was afraid Sir Eugene would be misunderstood, so I wrote a letter of explanation. Master Philip. No, that is Philip. Please take good care of him. From now on, by using my real abilities to make these lies come true, everyone will surely believe me. Philip stepped forward with a shy face. I'm Philip. It's a pleasure to meet you, Sir Eugene. But to turn every lie into truth, I need a higher status. Eugene spoke up. So, you're Philip. I am Cyan Eugene. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'll make use of him, Eugene thought, to become a true noble. The sky was clear blue amid the deep green forest. The two of them were wearily making their way down the road out of the village. Eugene asked curiously, "Is that Brahma village?" Philip replied, "Judging by the sign, yes it is." He asked with curiosity, "You know how to read?" He scratched his neck shyly. "Yes, my mother taught me before she passed away. She also came from a humble background, so she wasn't formally educated. She said the person she loved taught her those words. I never imagined that person was Sir Tion." Ma Zion by his ear teased, "Well, that's great. Have him teach you how to read." Eugene didn't hesitate to ask, "Can you teach me how to read?" He was astonished. "Me, but you're a knight. Don't tell me you can't read." Eugene whispered, "Knight is just a title. My clan has fallen. There's nothing to be proud of. What I've used to make a living isn't words, but the sword." Philip wondered, could it be that your family, Sir Eugene? And the answer to his question was Eugene's silence, which was as good as an admission. "Go ahead, doubt me. Then trust me. Once I've earned that trust, it will be thick enough to cover any lie." Mayan, standing nearby, teased, "Now that's some top-tier acting, isn't it? Well, it's good enough. But too many lies will arouse suspicion. That look in his eyes. I think he believes me now." Philip slowly began to speak. "My apologies, sir. To be honest, I was suspicious of you. When you said you were a monster, then a noble. The villagers call you a monster, so I was a little prejudiced. I'll judge for myself instead of listening to rumors. If you come from a family of warriors, it's understandable that you didn't learn to read. To save you from embarrassment in front of others, I'll take the opportunity to teach you when I have time," Philip said quietly. "Please tell me more about yourself, Sir Eugene." Who would have thought that at that moment a dagger would come flying right past his eyes? Philip, his face ashen, screamed in terror. The first time he saw Eugene quickly transform into a beast to block a sword and save Philip from danger, the hunters laughed with delight. "You have to pull hard the way I taught you." "I did exactly what you told me to do." Philip, his face pale and beaded with sweat. "What is this, robbers?" The hunter sneered. "What, never seen robbers before? The expressions on your faces are just priceless. All right, then let's make this quick. Drop everything. Empty that bag too. If you're not quick about it, you'll all die by my hand right here and now." Without a word, Eugene swung his blade and violently lopped off the man's head. "Understand now." The head tumbled through the air like a piece of candy, causing the surrounding hunters' jaws to drop. Philip stared at the head on the ground, horrified by the sheer reality of it. The hunter scrambled back, screaming, "Boss!" Eugene just said nonchalantly, "I did what you asked." "Nice and quick!" The enraged hunter grabbed his axe and cursed, "You son of a bitch!" And without another word, he was taken down decisively, blood splattering everywhere. Just a few sharp slashes from Eugene's blade were enough to send them all to their graves. The last remaining comrade stumbled backward, begging for help. "Help! Help me! In front of me is—" Elgin, wearing a brutal expression, aiming his sharp dagger. "Oh!" A finishing blow straight to the man's chest made the world seem to fall silent. After the battle was over, Elgin walked around the corpses, observing them. "I really don't get it. Why do people want to take down and rob those who are weaker than them?" He pushed his dagger deeper into the chest of that foolish comrade. "Just because you see someone weak, does that give you the right to bully them, Philip? If I knew how to read, would I be able to understand this?" He trembled and replied, That's—" A second later, he saw fresh crimson blood spray out savagely. Eugene covered his mouth and said in a low voice, "You said you would see for yourself. Believe me or not, that's up to you. But I won't let a single drop of blood get on you." The lively scene of the village appeared bustling with people coming and going. A vendor's voice cried out, "Come on, come on! Rare medicinal herbs just gathered from the northern hunt have arrived. Right here. Only 20 copper coins a bundle." Elsewhere, someone was arguing with a shop owner. "Hey, that shop down there sells this for half the price." "Don't be ridiculous. My goods are of much higher quality." Mayan had a look of delight, her voice trembling as she took in the cheerful, bustling scene. "This is so exciting, it's all so strange." Philip suddenly spoke up. "Sir, if you plan to shop here—" "It's best to be careful," he added. "I've come here a few times with my master, and the merchants here are terrible scammers. If you're not careful, you'll get ripped off. Every time my master comes, they overcharge him without mercy." The other person shouted, "Hey, down there, it's only half price. Give me my money back." Eugene glanced around, thinking, I need money first, then I can worry about being careful. Yes, and with that he headed towards the counter that the previous customer had just left. He said to Philip, Wait a moment. He replied, Yes, sir. Placing his goods on the counter, Eugene said, Shopkeeper, I want to sell these beast pelts. Could you appraise them for me? The man turned and looked intrigued. Oh, are these black wolf pelts? It's rare to see so many around here. How did you get so many? But Tony's eyes were somewhat wary as he looked at him. The man was dressed in a black cloak that covered his entire body, which made him begin to scrutinize him more carefully. Looking at that ragged appearance, Tony thought to himself, he's probably not a merchant, more like a drifter. He chuckled to himself. Perfect. This one will be easy to fleece. Tony immediately put on a slimy voice. Oh my. A hide this badly damaged, what good is it? 18 silver coins at most. The young man's deep red eyes peeked out from under his hood, staring straight at him and making Tony a little nervous. His eyes darted around as he thought, why are this guy's eyes so blood red? Tony's voice trembled. Ah, well, black wolf pelts are rare and quite valuable, so I suppose I can offer you a bit more. Eugene remained silent, and those red eyes made Tony break into an inward cold sweat. If you're annoyed, just spit it out already. Tony forced a laugh. It seems this is your first time here. You're quite a character, aren't you? Fine, I'll raise it to 23. Hearing this, the young man just looked at him and let out a humph. Tony couldn't read him at all, thinking to himself, still not satisfied. He added, How about 25 then? Eugene simply hummed quietly again. Seeing this, Tony hurriedly raised the price. No, not 25. Philip looked on with astonishment as the young man hummed again. Terrified, Tony upped the price. 28. Eugene dragged out the sound, his red eyes radiating an overwhelming pressure. Tony was in a full-blown panic, thinking, This damn kid, just how long is he planning to bleed me dry? He clutched his face and added, 30 silver coins, I can't go any higher. This made Philip's jaw drop. Eugene simply replied, Deal. Night fell and the candlelight was lit bright and warm. He looked at the paper thinking, What kind of letters are these? They look like chicken scratch. I've learned the basics from Philip, but I'm a long way from being fluent. The ancient characters were written in neat rows on the old paper as the water spirit's voice chimed in. This isn't half bad. She propped her chin on her hand and added, Of course a vampire should really be dressed in fine silks. But this was worth every penny, wasn't it? Eugene said, sounding quite pleased. Contrary to my worries, this market is quite generous. Since I'm a new customer, I even got a special discount. Magian covered her mouth and giggled, adding, My lord, you're such an easy person to swindle. Thinking back on how that crooked merchant kept raising the price on his own, her eyes lit up with the gleam of money. She exclaimed, My, you should have driven a harder bargain and bought a more expensive silk outfit. He cut her off, replying, I just need something to keep the sun off me, that's all. Hearing this, Magian was horrified and launched into a tirade, What, you have to enjoy life? Have you just been cooped up in the forest all this time? The image she had in her mind was one of sheer luxury. A vampire should live like the noblest of nobles, living in a magnificent castle under the moonlight, dressed in silks, ordering servants around and drinking fresh blood. If you want to get ahead in this world, you need ambition. Eugene cut her off. Excuse me, but you live in a swamp, so how do you know so much? Magian replied. Well, I'm originally from the spirit realm. Occasionally my elders return from the surface and tell me all sorts of useful stories, you know. She added, If you don't get stabbed by a silver sword or a wooden stake, you'll live for at least 200 years. So you should learn as much as you can. Learn the ancient script and the language of the empire, too. He then asked, So can you read? Magian answered bluntly, no. Eugene asked again, Besides creating drinking water, what else are you good for? From a distance, Philip's voice called out, Sir! His face was visibly tired as he asked, Excuse me, sir, but who are you talking to? He turned around and calmly replied, I was just talking to myself. Are you all right? Philip explained. I'm sorry you had to see me in such a weak state. While I was preparing the rabbit, I suddenly remembered what happened this morning. A flashback begins to that morning, when seeing Eugene kill the bandit right in front of him had made Philip vomit uncontrollably. Magian gave a wry smile. Perhaps it was a bit too much for him. Eugene replied, It's fine. It's hard for normal people to get used to bloodshed. Back in the present, Philip added, But don't worry, I still have plenty of energy. The night is young. He smiled, holding up a quill and a roll of paper. He said cheerfully, There's plenty of paper. I'll teach you as much as you want to learn. And so in the peaceful night scene, both of them were focused intently on the paper. Suddenly he spoke up, Is it always this easy to learn how to write? Philip replied, That's because you're a genius, sir. He quickly added, It took me several months to learn, and for most people it takes a whole year. Eugene replied, You're exaggerating. He then thought to himself, Philip, will this be enough for him? If he's going to move forward, just knowing how to read and write won't be enough, because he's about to become the son of a nobleman overnight. Hearing that, his eyes drooped slightly, and his voice faltered. I don't know. My mother didn't tell me the details, and I never really thought about it. It still doesn't feel real. Philip's cheeks were flushed. He added, Besides, I wasn't expecting Lord Tion to welcome me in the first place. In the distance, a group of people approached, and one of them was getting closer. The man smiled and spoke, Hello there, friends. We're looking for a place to make camp. Could we trouble you for some information? Looking at the man before him, Eugene secretly sized them up. Full weapons and armor, even a horseless cart. These were completely different from the usual good-for-nothing mercenaries. These were professionals. The man continued, And there's a child here too. May I ask where you two are headed? The masked boy thought to himself, This is how mercenaries ask questions. A clumsy lie will only arouse suspicion. He calmly replied, We are heading to Lord Tion's castle. The man said enthusiastically, Oh, so are we. Might we ask to travel with you? We have wine, water, and mutton, too. From behind, a voice called out as a young blond man walked up. Captain Bate, why do you have to do all this? We'll set up camp together, shall we? No objections, I hope. Behind the mask, his eyes glowed a fiery red. His expression turned serious. The man immediately tried to smooth things over. My apologies. This is Laban. He's new to the squad, so he's still not used to the proper way of doing things. Please just ignore him. The man introduced himself. I'm Bate. And you? He replied, Knight Eugene. His answer made the other man slightly disbelieving. A knight, Laban said loudly. Captain Bate. He says he's a knight. Can you believe that, looking like this and calling himself a knight? No horse, no armor? What a joke. He got closer to Eugene and asked, Hey, tell me the truth. You're not really a knight, are you? Then he pointed a finger at him and added, Eugene of what family? I've never heard a name like that. With a look of certainty, he asked, Are you an impostor? Those words hit a nerve. His face darkened, his eyes looking like he wanted to kill the man in front of him. Eugene thought to himself, I already told Philip this would happen. There was no other way to lie about this. The reason these mercenaries approached us definitely isn't simple. He stayed silent, assessing the situation. Whether I'm a knight or not doesn't matter, but if they keep pushing this, things will get ugly. His red eyes scanned the mercenaries, calculating. There aren't many. I can finish them all. Eugene reached inside his cloak, preparing to draw his sword. A cold glare from behind, along with the man's furious voice. Laban! A powerful slap landed squarely on his face, sending Laban tumbling across the ground until he slammed into a tree trunk. Bate bowed a full 90 degrees and said, My apologies, Sir Eugene. Please forgive the insolence of this newcomer. Glancing over at Laban, he replied softly, No need to apologize. Feel free to set up your camp. As if a weight had been lifted, the man quickly replied, Thank you for your generosity, sir. Eugene thought to himself. From now on, there will be many more suspicious encounters. To avoid useless suspicion, I have to become a knight as soon as possible. After that, he went back to sitting with Philip, practicing his letters. In the distance, the beaten Laban lay still on the ground. A moment later, he came to his senses, still in utter disbelief. Laban shot up, stammering, Ha! Why am I? Bate, who was sitting nearby, spoke up. Tisk. Laban, you idiot. He frowned slightly and added, Have you got no sense of fear? How dare you provoke a knight like that? Hearing this, he was bewildered. But, Captain Bate. Seeing that the kid still didn't get it, he smacked him again and said, Listen here, you punk. The only reason you're still alive is because of me. You almost got our whole squad killed back there. Laban rubbed the lump on his head and grumbled, What's so scary about that pathetic guy? All he's got is some old short sword. Seeing this, Bate scolded him. You really judge people just by their appearance. You're truly blind. He added, Do you have any idea how much that knight's cloak is worth? That's a high-quality cloak made from lion hide. The silk lining at its cheapest is worth more than 10 silver coins. Hearing that, he exclaimed in shock, It's that expensive. Bate replied, Yeah, that's at least 3 months of your salary. Eugene was still focused on each letter, but the man didn't know that and made his own assumption. Seeing him read a letter, he must be literate. He's no commoner. Batet shot Laban a glare and added, and he almost drew his sword for real. We all could have been killed. If we were lucky, maybe me and one other guy would have survived. The kid asked naively, how do you know? He began to recall, while you were running your mouth, that Knight had already placed his right hand inside his cloak. Batet had keenly noticed. His left foot had shifted back slightly. He's skilled at adjusting his center of gravity for a sword draw. That's what was happening. He pictured a cold blade swinging cleanly through Laban's neck. He drew a hand across his own throat and said, if I had been a second slower, your head would be gone. Hearing this, Laban stammered, well, you could have just blocked for me, right? Batak raised an eyebrow and asked doubtfully, do you really have no idea how fearsome knights are? Knowing the guy was clueless, he immediately began to explain. Knights, you see, from the moment they're born into ancient families, they've held a wooden sword. Their entire lives are spent learning the art of killing. They charge into unexplored dungeons, defying the fear of death itself to defeat monsters. On the battlefield, they cut down their own kind to earn merit. Only those whose hands are stained with blood catch the eye of the nobility and are finally granted the title of knight. He added with a serious tone, and impersonating a knight is a capital offense. Whether that man is real or a fake, he's going to cause trouble. Anyone who'd dare to impersonate a knight is definitely no pushover. Unless someone is supremely confident in their swordsmanship, they wouldn't even try it. After all, how many of those who spend their entire lives with a sword actually become knights? For someone who looks to be just over 20 to declare himself a knight, it means he's already reached a formidable level of skill. After hearing that, Laban broke out in a cold sweat, his voice stammering, So, is he even stronger than the company captain? Batash replied nonchalantly, probably. His mysterious red eyes glowed from behind his mask as he added, what's more, he's heading to Lord Tion's castle. I heard a new dungeon was discovered there recently. Perhaps he intends to take part in clearing it, since we have the same destination. We're bound to run into him again. On Elgin's side, he was quietly wondering, good thing I kept my wits about me. Does the title of knight really carry that much weight? It'd be great if this continues to be effective, but I need to prepare more. He glanced over at the other group. He thought, aside from the one I knocked out, the rest of them are bona fide mercenaries. So why did the Tion family hire that other group of scum? Instead of professionals like these, they could have just sent their own soldiers too. It's so strange. Suddenly he stood up and started walking towards them. Laban's voice trembled slightly. But why? Why is he coming over here? As Eugene removed his mask, he spoke. I hear you're also on your way to Lord Tion's castle. His breathtakingly handsome face was revealed under the moonlight. He added, since we share a destination, why don't we go together? His entire being seemed to emit a sparkling light as if temporarily blinding them. Laban could only stammer in response, yes, of course. And so the night passed. They all traveled to Metella, the village at the edge of the domain. Eugene followed along, thinking, it's a good thing these mercenaries believe I'm a knight. If we travel to our destination together, I should be able to gather a lot of useful information. The problem is, from this point on, his train of thought was cut off by Mion, who appeared and called out excitedly, Master Eugene, floating in the air. Mion added, just as you asked, I listened in on the mercenaries' gossip. Hearing that, he immediately asked, any noteworthy information? This is what Mion reported. Lord Tion's health is failing badly. It wouldn't be surprising if he were to pass away at any moment. And recently, a new dungeon was discovered within the territory. Conquering a dungeon would bring in a fortune, but the Tion family lacks both the funds and the manpower, so they haven't been able to open it. As the story ended, Eugene thought to himself, a new dungeon, huh? Suddenly it spoke up again. But hey, Mion asked, puzzled. If Lord Tion is about to croak, what's going to happen to that little kid? Is he going to arrive just to become an orphan? He replied curtly, that is not our concern. It asked in surprise, then what are we going to do? Mion guessed worriedly, is he going to get pushed around by his relatives? Eugene turned back to look at the boy, thinking, the reason Lord Tion summoned Philip is probably to see his son one last time before he dies. His face betrayed not a hint of emotion. He continued to think, from now on, his fate and mine will change in some way. The horse's hooves clattered on the stone ground. A loud shout rang out, we have arrived! Warm sunlight streamed gently through the gates of Lord Tion's fortress, the Castle of Roses. The mercenaries and Eugene's group stepped inside. The place was vast. A look of surprise crossed his face as he thought, it's bigger than I imagined. Mion, on the other hand, was thrilled, exclaiming, Master Eugene, you absolutely have to get promoted. And live in a castle just like this one, okay? He immediately snatched it out of the air and said coldly, Shut your mouth and just follow me. As they were walking, a voice suddenly called out to them. Hey, state your purpose. Batak stepped forward with a smile. Greetings, my lord. We are a mercenary company from the Elin Merchant Guild. And who might you be, noble sir? The eldest son of House Tione Camisa Tione. A man with blonde hair and blue eyes dressed in fine clothes replied, I am the Tione heir Camisa. He then asked, Is that cargo in the back hours? Batak replied respectfully, Yes, my lord, as you can see. We have delivered the cargo safely to its destination. Camisa replied, Don't just stand there gawking, start unloading. His gaze shifted to Eugene's group as he asked, And what about them? Why aren't they moving? Eugene immediately answered, It is a pleasure to meet you. I am the knight Jean Eugene. And this child, Camisa suddenly cut him off. A knight! From behind them came another louder voice. Brother Camisa, what do you think you're doing? Eugene's eyes shifted slightly. He suddenly recognized that familiar voice. That voice. It's him. The man leading a group of cavalrymen behind him continued, Brother, how many times have I told you? Inspecting outsiders is my responsibility. A rose-shaped badge pinned to the cloak. His red eyes narrowed as he thought to himself, How could I have forgotten that voice? The captain of the vampire hunting squad, the first one to discover my hiding place. He and his men tortured me. Knight. Bert Tione. Bert Tione. A knight under the second son of the Tione family. And here was Camazo Tione looking a bit displeased. He laughed and said, Do I need to report my every move to you? If outsiders saw this, they might think you were the heir. Hearing this, he quickly denied it. That's not what I meant. Suddenly, someone approached and called out, catching both of their attentions. Hey, this is a letter from the village chief of Bazoa-Win. Bert reached out to take the letter, but the man suddenly pulled it back, leaving him confused. The letter was handed directly to Camazo. The other man stared at him with a strange look. Oh, the village chief, you say? He opened the letter to read it, then exclaimed, This can't be! The mercenaries were attacked by wolves, and all of them were killed. And the child you brought back. Philip, standing behind them, got a little nervous when he was mentioned. He quickly bowed his head in greeting. Hello everyone, I'm Philip. Camazo smiled and said, Oh, so you're our new little brother, are you? He continued to welcome him with a bright smile while Bert's face had already darkened. Just who I was waiting for. Father is eager to see you. He raised his voice, his tone slightly angry as he gave an order. Someone take him to get washed up, then put some decent clothes on him. The soldiers received the order and quickly pulled Philip away. In his confusion, Yes, sir. Suddenly, someone stepped forward to stop them. Wait! Bert, still angry, tilted his head slightly toward the voice. Eugene then stated his case. I want to discuss the reward first. Let me see the Lord. Bert's face flushed red with anger as he yelled, No! The boy asked again. I can't even see him for a moment. Bert quickly replied, Father's health isn't good right now, so it's very difficult for him to speak. I will pay your fee in gold. Please leave for now. Eugene's eyes grew sharp and turned crimson. I went through all this trouble to bring your precious little brother back to you. He didn't even listen and grew angrier. Don't make me repeat myself. At this moment, Camazo also spoke up. What's the harm? Bert, face flushed, turned to snap at his brother. His brother crossed his arms with a bright smile. We have to introduce our new little brother anyway. What's the problem with a brief meeting? He immediately retorted. Brother Father is only lucid for less than an hour a day. We can't let some vagrant of unknown origin meet him. Camazo curled his lip into a slight smirk and asked, Oh, so now you're arranging Father's schedule on your own? Bert, enraged, got right in his brother's face and yelled, Brother, why do you always twist my words? He remained very calm in the face of his brother's anger. Camazo suddenly turned to look at Eugene and said, Oh, I do apologize, Sir Eugene. It seems my little brother is playing the role of the heir, so things have become a little difficult for you. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, a wicked grin on his face. In that case, please be careful on your way back. Camazo walked over and cheerfully took Philip by the hand. Come on, new little brother, let me show you around. Let's take a tour of the domain first, shall we? He replied, a bit flustered. Ah, yes. Eugene glanced at him through his mask. so from the beginning he had no intention of letting me see him. Suddenly someone approached, calling out loudly, "Hey, Tyone's second son, Ganzedric." He approached with a man slung over his shoulder. "There you are. I've been looking for you all morning." Seeing this, Bert quickly asked, What is this?" He dropped the man from his shoulder and replied, These are the mercenaries who were robbing the villagers. They refused to train and just loafed around, so I brought them back right away." Ganzedric's expression darkened slightly as he dusted off his hands. "How about we make an example of one of them and execute him?" He grew a bit worried, his eyes darting towards Eugene. "Even though they're just temporary mercenaries to clear the dungeon." Bert came over and pushed his shoulder, leading him elsewhere. "All right, we can deal with that later. I'll teach them a lesson. There are too many prying eyes here. Let's talk inside." Although Ganzedric found it strange, he still complied. All right." Bates appeared from somewhere and asked, "That person is Sir Ganzedric, right?" Hearing that he asked in return, "You know him?" The boy quickly replied, "Yes, at the tournament recently hosted by the Everglade family. He took 3rd place. He's an extremely promising knight. His strength is monstrously incredible, and his technique is also excellent. At the arena that day, rumor has it he wiped out over 1,000 opponents." After hearing this, Eugene also wondered, why would someone like that come to this remote border region? Bates thought for a moment. Perhaps because of the newly discovered dungeon opening for the first time. Even in a border region, any knight who successfully clears a dungeon for the first time, will gain great renown. Because opening a dungeon is so dangerous, many have died. Perhaps Sir Ganzedric wants to use this place as a stepping stone to be appointed by a larger noble house. He pondered for a moment. "Appointed, huh?" Eugene suddenly called out, making the boy turn to him in confusion. "Hey, Bates, as of today your contracts are over, right?" The boy replied, but then hesitated, wanting to ask more. Yes, that's right." But Eugene turned to look at Bates and asked with a smile, "In that case, may I offer you a new contract this time?" That evening, the full moon illuminated the entire sky. Bert and Ganzedric were training the soldiers. "I have to be the one to clear the dungeon this time." Kamazo, sitting above, glanced down through the glass at my younger brother, whose health had taken a turn for the worse. He's already openly making a play for the inheritance. What's more, he even brought back the valiant knight Ganzedric. He's clearly planning to conquer the dungeon himself this time. If that happens, the people's favor will shift to him in an instant. As he was lost in thought, there was a knock on the door. What am I supposed to do? It's too late to hire a bunch of randoms now. There's no one left to help me. What am I going to do? A voice called from outside. "My Lord Knight, Eugene requests an audience." Kamazo thought for a moment, then gave the order. "Eugene, isn't that the knight who just brought Philip back? Let him in." The servant took the order and opened the door for him. "This way, Sir Eugene." He stood up and walked toward Eugene with a smile. "Don't worry about Philip. I've taken special measures to ensure his safety. When Father wakes, he will reward you for bringing my dear brother back safely. In any case, I'm also very grateful that you brought the letter to me instead of to my little brother. Thanks to you, I can finally breathe a little easier." Eugene suddenly spoke, causing him to tilt his head in confusion. "Well, that's good to hear." The young man smiled, his red eyes glowing in the dark. "My only business is with the lord of this domain. But a third party has interfered which has left me a bit perplexed." Hearing this, Kamazo raised an eyebrow. "Oh!" He sat down opposite him. "So what is it you want to meet my father in person?" "Is it to confirm your identity?" Eugene replied. "That's part of it, but I'm here to make you a proposition, Sir Kamazo. Let me join the dungeon subjugation party this time." He raised an eyebrow, then burst out laughing. Kamazo's laughter echoed throughout the large room. He propped his chin on his hand and glanced at Eugene. "You're more interesting than I thought. This knight title." Kamazo looked down at the young man's seemingly old clothes. He then sneered. "Did you bestow it upon yourself? I heard you killed about 5 bandits. Are you trying to join now to boost your reputation as a knight?" "What reason do I have to accept your proposal?" Eugene calmly crossed his legs and replied, "For you, Sir Kamaze, it's not a bad proposition at this particular moment." Hearing this, he asked back, "What do you mean by that?" The young man didn't answer, instead laying out the benefits. "By the way, if we succeed in clearing it, I'll only take 100 silver coins and half of the auxiliary items, excluding the mana stones, for myself and my mercenaries." Kamazo tilted his head, looking at him. The offer was so good it's suspicious. You do realize that's much lower than the market rate, don't you? Eugene didn't deny it, replying, "So is that acceptable to you? Or we can forget it." He smirked and raised a hand. "After all, you're the one in a hurry, not me." Kamazo looked at Eugene with a wary eye. Knights live and die for honor. Looking at his attire, he appears to be a wandering knight with no noble house to back him. He isn't greedy for money, so it seems he prioritizes his honor above all else, doesn't he? Besides, based on what I heard just now, the young man's voice cut through his thoughts. "Ah, and by the way, you're the one who's in a rush, not me." Hearing this, Kamazo's eyes suddenly widened. He immediately thought of Bert and Ganzedric. Kamazo smiled sinisterly. He knows how to play his cards. He's nothing like those knights who are all brawn and no brain. He pushed himself up from his chair. "Very well. I have no reason to refuse such a good opportunity. I shall be in your care, Sir Eugene." After speaking, Kamazo unhurriedly raised his hand. The hand was extended in front of the young man. Monostones are difficult to refine and incur high processing costs, whereas auxiliary items can be sold immediately for their real value. Looking at Kamazo reminded Eugene of Batet. "I will introduce you to a reputable merchant guild, as long as you, Sir Eugene, say that you will only accept auxiliary items. Then Sir Kamazo will certainly agree at once." Ganzedric held a knife in his hand. "Humph, how amusing." Bert glanced out the window and continued, "He's adding more people to the monster subjugation team again. It's a little too late for him to be scrambling now." He twirled the knife in his hand and said to him, "The dungeon is no playground for children. If you're one step too slow, you get left behind. In there, it's just life and death. If some weakling gets in the way and slows our progress, then I will most certainly object." Bert shrugged and sighed. "Ah, and what about the knight my dear brother found?" He placed his hand on the back of the chair Ganzedric was sitting in. "I'm not expecting much. My brother was never close with the neighboring nobility. His relationships are quite limited. If you don't mind, I'd appreciate it if you told him that yourself." The young man turned to ask Bert, "Why are you pushing this responsibility onto me?" Suddenly, a voice cut in, drawing the attention of both. "Ah, my apologies for keeping you all waiting. I was just having a conversation with my new knight. Well then, allow me to make the introductions. This is the newest member of our subjugation team." Eugene and the people from his team walked into the room. "Knight Eugene and his group of mercenaries." Bert saw him and thought to himself, "It's that guy from earlier. And he even brought a group of mercenaries with him." He began to speak. "Brother, this is a bit unreasonable. We can't just let someone with an unknown background and abilities join us." Kamazo crossed his arms, his voice a bit slow. "His background, you say, but as for his skills, I can guarantee them." He smiled brightly and gestured toward Eugene to introduce him. "In fact, I just heard a tale from our dear little brother here. Those bandits that have been harassing the borders of our domain, they've been quite a headache for us as well, haven't they? I heard that on his way here, Sir Eugene used a single short sword to eliminate them all." The knife in Ganzedric's hand suddenly gleamed. "With that level of skill, I believe, his abilities are more than sufficient, wouldn't you agree?" He threw the knife with great force, sending it flying toward Eugene. Sensing the danger, the young man's eyes widened. Eugene quickly drew the sword hanging at his hip. There was a flash of fiery light. The knife was struck, sending it flying in another direction. The wall where the knife embedded itself cracked, leaving a large hole. Smoke rose from the knife as if it were on fire. Ganzedric sat in his chair. He rested his chin on his hand, smiling with great interest. He suddenly put his hand down and shot to his feet. "Oh my." He slowly approached Eugene. "My sincerest apologies for being so discourteous during our first meeting. Not a single callus on your skin, and no sign of being out in the sun. It seems you've been pampered since childhood, eh?" He exuded a murderous aura as he stood before the young man. "My little friend, would you mind showing me a little bit of your actual skill?" That evening, everyone gathered at the fighting ring, illuminated by flickering flames. The townsfolk buzzed with rumors. "Knight Ganzedric wants to duel, you say?" Right now, they crowded around the ring, eager to watch the commotion. "I have to see the skills of the knight who once placed third in the grand tournament, the one who can tear monsters apart with his bare hands. For real. Oh my God, is he even human?" The townsfolk packed both sides of the entrance, not even knowing who the opponent was. Ignoring their chatter, Eugene calmly put on his gloves. but I was already starting to feel a little sorry for his opponent. Ganzedric showed no fear. On the contrary, he was incredibly excited. He slammed the tip of his sword on the ground, sending out small sparks. He raised his sword and began to focus, getting serious. His smiling face suddenly turned serious. Eugene, expressionless, tilted his head slightly to look at him, then turned his gaze to the ground. He gave his sword a powerful flick. It caused the ground itself to spark. The referee in the center cleared his throat and shouted loudly. The moment he finished speaking, someone above quickly rang the bell to begin. A foot stomped hard on the ground, cracking it into fragments. A metallic clang rang out as the two swords clashed, striking sparks. They both forced their blades down, pressing close to each other's hilts. Then, with a sudden, powerful slash, Ganzedric and Eugene jumped back, leaving a brilliant shower of sparks in the middle of the arena. Ganzedric, his face full of excitement, made a taunting gesture with his hand. Eugene's eyes widened as he watched Ganzedric provoke him. Eugene lunged forward from a distance, attacking relentlessly to corner him. Laban shouted with excitement. "That's Sir Eugene for you. Sir Ganzedric is being completely overwhelmed." Batek, with his arms across, explained, "He's just testing the waters. His eyes are fixed on the fight. Sir Ganzedric is holding back." He parried Eugene's attacks without the slightest fatigue. On the contrary, he was smiling brightly. Ganzedric observed and thought to himself, his swordsmanship is still quite crude. There are no clear habits. I can't tell what kind of sword he's used to. It's not a formally trained technique, but it has a wildness to it, as if he were raised in the wilderness. Eugene pulled his sword back and let out a breath which only seemed to excite his opponent, just as he'd predicted. Ganzedric parried the last blow, and then spoke up. "Hey, friend, that knight title of yours is just for show, isn't it?" Ganzedric smiled, and he pointed it out. "Your swordsmanship has no foundation. Your stance is loose. You've never had any formal training. You're just relying on your physical strength." Eugene fell silent, listening to him. Although you couldn't say swordsmanship is everything for a knight. Just a few exchanges were enough to understand an opponent. Then Ganzedric seized the momentum, leaping up to strike at him, but Eugene managed to parry it in time. "You sure talk a lot." He looked at Eugene and smiled, proposing a condition. "If you can defeat me, I'll keep quiet about it." Then he struck again. This time he put more force into it, giving Eugene just enough time to divert the blade to the side. But in that opening, Ganzedric knocked his sword up and then pinned it to the ground, leaving him with no time to react. He quickly gathered his momentum. Ganzedric rushed forward, spinning around in a move that surprised Eugene. He struck, aiming straight for his head, but Eugene managed to block it just in time. But the pressure from the blow was still too great, sending Eugene flying straight into a nearby wall. Better sneered contemptuously while the others gasped in shock. "He's unconscious." But he was still gripping his sword tightly. Eugene glared. A moment later, he quickly picked himself up as broken pieces of the wall fell and scattered around him. A swift sword strike grazed past Ganzedric's side. The two clashed swords intensely. Ganzedric thought to himself, his speed is truly impressive. Eugene kept directing Ganzedric's blade towards the ground, while Ganzedric still seemed to be enjoying himself. Then he used his leg to pivot, spinning up to deliver a finishing blow. Ganzedric was just as quick, blocking it with a slash of his own. The two swords collided, but the force was too great, and the blades shattered, flying in all directions. Despite this, the two continued to attack even as their swords crumbled. Then Ganzedric and Eugene switched to hand-to-hand combat. They both clenched their fists, testing their strength, and tossed their broken swords aside. As they locked hands, Ganzedric looked at the hand gripping his and thought, "Ha, he's smaller than me, but his strength." He looked again at the boy who was determined to defeat him. "I acknowledge you. Your physical power is completely overwhelming." He tensed his arm muscles, but then suddenly jerked one hand, pulling Eugene off balance towards him. "My combat experience far exceeds yours." Eugene was shocked to recognize this move. Pulled by gravity, Eugene fell forward as the spectators behind them gasped. Ganzedric grinned and quickly threw a punch. For a moment, everything seemed to slow down for Eugene. Then he planted one hand on the ground to reverse his fall, springing up and grabbing Ganzedric's other hand. But Ganzedric didn't give up on his attack, committing to a direct punch. But he quickly pulled on Ganzedric's other arm, throwing him off balance. As Ganzedric watched him swing his fist, he thought to himself, none of his movements are orthodox. His ability to learn is incredibly fast. Eugene didn't hesitate as he threw the punch. Or two, he has sharp survival instincts for dealing with danger. As the punch flew towards his face, Ganzedric grinned with delight. Just what kind of den did this guy crawl out of? Eugene put all his strength into a precise punch. Ganzedric was sent flying backward, causing the people in his path to scramble out of the way. He flew and slammed straight into the wall behind him. The wall's bricks shattered and flew everywhere. Ganzedric fell on his back, eyes rolled back to show the whites, one cheek swollen. I lose. The announcer below in disbelief declared, "The winner is Eugene." Eugene exhaled as the victory was announced. The surrounding crowd marveled and ran towards him. What was that? That knight is terrifyingly strong. Eugene, huh? Never heard the name. Laban boasted and shouted, "Ha ha! See that, you lot? That's our knight!" Batek beside him glanced over. "Already calling him our knight, are we?" On the other side, Ganzedric, who had been lying unconscious from that last blow, suddenly showed pupils in his eyes again. Ganzedric had regained consciousness. He stood up and walked towards Eugene. He rushed towards him like a monster. Just as Eugene was about to be covered by his shadow before he could even react, Ganzedric suddenly grabbed his arm. "Give him a round of applause!" Ganzedric gleefully raised Eugene's hand, loudly proclaiming him the winner. That night, to Eugene's bewilderment, the people around them began to chant in unison, "Eugene, Jan, Eugene!" Seeing this, Kamaz gnashed his teeth in frustration. A moment later, a lavish feast was served. The servants and the butler stood to one side, smiling warmly. Ganzedric grimaced, looking uncomfortably at the feast before him. The butler told him, "This is an order from Lord Kamaz to open the gate to the Dungeon Forest. You need to eat and rest well. I will personally take care of your meals, Sir Eugene." Another servant asked kindly, "How do you find the lighting, sir?" "I've drawn the curtains tightly as I know you're sensitive to light." Another servant held up a bottle of wine. "If you tell me your preference, I can recommend a few bottles." Myron, perched on Eugene's head, watched the whole scene. He chuckled teasingly. Heh heh. As a vampire, he doesn't need to eat or drink, but he can't say that out loud. "Sir, if you eat all of this, won't you get a stomach ache?" He ignored him and said, "I appreciate the sentiment. From now on, I will take care of my own meals. All of you leave." The butler was about to speak, but Eugene cut him off and added a message for Lord Kamaz. He glared dangerously and said, "I prefer to be alone. Understood." He had lived in seclusion in the deep mountains for over 15 years. After that night, the way everyone looked at him changed a full 180 degrees. As Eugene was walking, Kamaz approached him. "Well, if it isn't our talented knight, Jan Eugene. Did you sleep well last night?" He replied, "Well enough, I suppose." Kamaz wondered, "But why did you refuse all the comforts I arranged for you?" He smirked upon seeing Laban bow respectfully to Eugene. "Sir Eugene, did you just cough?" Seeing this, Eugene thought to himself, this suits me quite well. Ganzedric appeared out of nowhere, pushed Kamaz aside, grabbed Eugene by the shoulders, and said loudly, "Well, if it isn't my friend and comrade in arms, Jan Eugene." Eugene said nonchalantly, "Sir Ganzedric, don't stand so close to me." Ganzedric asked if he slept well. "My face is still burning. I tossed and turned all night." Ganzedric pointed to his bruised cheek. "See this pale face?" Eugene thought to himself. "Are you saying you want to fight again?" Ganzedric asked. "Are you free today? The weather is nice. Let's have a match," Laban said excitedly. "Oh, may I watch?" Eugene thought Ganzedric doesn't care whether I'm a knight or not. Those who doubted me are also slowly changing. Although I've achieved my goal, being surrounded by a crowd still makes me uneasy. He said to Ganzedric, "You want to get hit again?" Ganzedric laughed. "Oh, you'll only know if we fight." Just then, Philip, covered in wounds, walked over. He called out, stunning the crowd. "Sir Philip, are you all right these days?" On a quiet, moonlit night, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. I'm sorry, master. Please spare this humble servant's life." The shadow of Peter, holding a cane in his hand, appeared on the wall along with the scream. He looked at the person lying on the floor. If you had finished the job cleanly, this wouldn't have happened," Peter said coldly. "If you had dealt with that bastard back in the village from the start, that red-eyed knight would never have appeared at Rose Castle." His eyes were bloodshot as he furiously yelled, "My plan has been completely ruined!" Philip knelt down, begging, "This humble servant is truly sorry, master. Those mercenaries were known for being thorough." Peter turned his face away and clicked his tongue. "Just a bunch of useless fools who got devoured by a pack of black wolves. They couldn't even handle a pack of wolves? And they dared to take a job from me." Then he lunged and grabbed Philip's chin. "Are your eyes just for decoration, huh?" Peter pointed a dagger close to him. In that case, there's no need to keep them. His threat made Philip tremble in fear. I'll take them out right now. The people there turned pale with fear as they heard the terrified screams. After he was done, Peter asked himself, now what should I do? He reasoned, I can't just get rid of him directly now that he's inside the castle. Then, as if he'd just thought of something, Peter said, I've got it. He looked towards the light streaming in from the window above where Philip was lying. That's right. This is the only way. This way is also convenient for disposal. He glanced up, returning to the present, and asked with his arms crossed, I heard that Lord Bert has ordered you to march into the dungeon. Is that true? He leaned against this wall and said, I have a bad feeling about this, and you. Philip, sitting in a chair, replied, I came here prepared to sacrifice my life. I suppose you'll be sacrificing yourself in the dungeon, then. He fell silent when Eugene asked, Do you remember that group of mercenaries who were ambushed by a pack of black wolves on their way to the village? No, those worthless mercenaries were definitely sent by one of your older brothers. Eugene glanced over at Philip. They never expected you to make it to the castle safely. Then he said something that surprised Philip. But you still have a path to survival. Then Eugene said, Philip Thyon, become my slave. He whipped his head around in shock. You're already 16 years old. You've already had your coming-of-age ceremony, so you no longer need a guardian's consent. You have the right to choose your own path. He continued, Do you want to run away and wait for someone else to finish you off, or do you want to fight until your very last breath? On the day the dungeon opened, everyone stood before the massive gate. Of course, no one knew what kind of monsters would appear. Ganzedric announced, Our preliminary assessment for the party is as follows. Low-level monsters will be goblins. Mid-level will be giant arachnids, and high-level monsters are unpredictable. Our objective is to clear a path to the mid-level monster zone. If a high-level monster appears, we retreat immediately. Understood. The entire team shouted, Yes, sir. He then directed, All right, then, first let's scout at the surroundings and see if there are any dungeon caves. A soldier sighed in relief. Phew, it's just goblins. Guess we won't have to shed any blood this time. Another soldier crossed his arms and said, But I was planning to fake an injury and retreat. After we finish off the low-level monsters, that is. The other soldier was surprised. Huh, you can really do that, he continued. Hey, buddy, a first-time dungeon raid is incredibly chaotic. No one pays attention to what's happening in the rear. For all we know, we could end up sacrificing our lives while we're busy picking up a few measly fragments. As he was speaking, he bumped into someone else. If things get dangerous, let's be the first to bail. He was about to curse, You son of a... But before he could finish, Bert glanced over and asked, Is Philip here? And just like that, his demeanor changed. He bowed respectfully. Lord Bert Philip, what do you mean, my lord? Bert looked around. I'm asking, where is that bastard Philip? I distinctly remember assigning him here. The other man pointed. Could it be you're referring to that boy over there? In the distance, Philip was cheerfully talking with Eugene. Lord Eugene, here are some dried rations. I pray for your safe return. Eugene replied. Bert, furious, shoved the soldier aside and stormed over to the two of them. These clanless lackeys scurry in as fast as little rats. He walked up and yelled, Philip, what are you dawdling for, startling the boy? Bert looked down at him coldly. Have you already forgotten my orders? Hurry up and put on your pack and get back to your position. Philip flinched at his tone and immediately hid behind Eugene, which only enraged Bert further. Is this brat deaf? He glanced over as Bert lunged forward, grabbing Philip's arm and trying to drag him away. I told you to get back to your position right now. But Eugene grabbed his arm, forcing him to let go of Philip. Get off! Bert's face grew tense as he heard Eugene say, You have a rather amusing way of speaking. He said, bringing someone who only knows how to hold a kitchen knife on a dungeon raid. Are you in your right mind? Bert shoved Eugene's hand away. How rude, I'm simply trying to help this little brother of mine grow stronger. Then Bert growled, You need to remember your own place. You have no right to touch him. He froze when he heard the reply, You're the one who doesn't know his place. Eugene continued speaking before Philip could be pulled away. As of yesterday, this boy is now my slave. He stated, Everyone here bore witness, stunning Bert. Ganzedric glared at him. This is a bond of blood. If you dare to lay a single finger on him, consider it a challenge to me. Eugene moved closer to Bert, drawing his sword halfway from its scabbard. So, how about a little warm-up before we head into the dungeon? Bert yelled, How dare you be so presumptuous? He shouted even louder, Do you think adopting the bastard of another family is so simple? You're obstructing his path to advancement. Then he overheard other soldiers talking. But don't worry this time. It's not a bunch of incompetent knights like before. These commanders have real skill. Did you see the match between Lord Eugene and Lord Ganzedric a week ago? It was on a whole other level. Bert glared angrily. I wonder how long it would take to train to that level. Huh. You'd have to live another life for that. He thought, these guys. Suddenly, Camera appeared and clapped him on the shoulder. If it's Lord Eugene, then I can entrust my little brother to him with peace of mind. He chuckled, glancing sideways. Besides, at 16, he's an adult. He ought to be able to choose his own path, shouldn't he? Bert was speechless with rage. Eugene glanced at Philip. He is prey. Once the weak have been targeted by a predator, it's difficult to survive. Even if you hold your breath, they'll still hunt you down. Bert's face darkened as he gritted his teeth. If you can't become strong, then find a pack. Camera approached with a smile and clapped Philip on the shoulder. Now then, let me show you to the library. Ah, do you know how to read model? That's the survival method of the weak. A soldier arrived to report. Report. No sign of the Doemer. It seems no monsters have escaped from the dungeon's entrance. We can proceed with opening the dungeon gate now, sir. Ganzedric, beaming, stood shoulder to shoulder with Eugene. All right, then, let's begin. The gate opened before the soldiers. Ganzedric glanced behind him and warned, make sure you survive on your own. Behind them were soldiers well equipped with weapons and armor. Ganzedric led the team forward. In the back, Philip and a camera operator waved. See you in 4 days, so Eugene, please take care. The gate slowly closed. May the gods protect them. In the darkness beyond, inside the dark, damp cave, piercing screams echoed. Someone fell, blood splattering everywhere. The monsters charged, tearing into the soldiers. Their numbers and strength were overwhelming. Some collapsed while others shrieked desperately, "Help! Save me!" A flash of light shot past as a sword sliced a monster in two, saving the soldier who had just screamed. A terrified survivor. I'm still alive. Ganzedric, his face drenched in monster blood, furiously cursed. You damn fool! Hold the formation. He waved to the troops ordering, get back in position now. Everyone scrambled back in panic. Ganzedric commanded the archer squad. Archer center, cover the line. Arrows flew in a steady volley, striking the monsters. They kept charging forward. Ganzedric roared, don't let them break the line. Under Ganzedric's leadership, the group slowly regained the advantage. Goblin corpses were strewn everywhere. A terrified soldier looked down. I knew it. He felt nauseous at the sight of the goblin corpses. Volunteering for a dungeon hunt was insane from the start. He turned and ran in a panic. I have to get out of here. He ran, looking back over his shoulder. I have to make it to the entrance. He didn't notice a group of goblins blocking his path. I have to make it to the entrance. Terrified, he tripped and fell. The monsters were crushed by a thrown sword. From behind, Ganzedric roared in anger, You fool! Did you really think you wouldn't run into monsters by going back the way we came? The young soldier was petrified. Ganzedric grabbed him by the collar and yelled in his face, Snap out of it! Staying here is the safest place to be. Ganzedric threw the soldier aside and gave an order. Draw your sword and hold your position. A terrified young soldier obeyed. Ahead, Ganzedric's troops were still battling the goblins. Watching the fierce fight, Ganzedric wiped away his sweat. I guess this is what you get for hiring mercenaries in a rush. Their skills are pathetic. Bringing this rabble on a dungeon hunt is basically suicide. Before he could catch his breath, another soldier reported, Sir Ganzedric, more of them are coming. Then another reported, Sir Ganzedric, we're surrounded from behind too. Ganzedric quickly ordered, Damn it, switch to a two-front formation now. Eugene stepped forward. I'll handle the rear. Ganzedric, alarmed, tried to stop him. Wait, Sir Eugene, it's too dangerous to go alone. But he had already dashed off. In the blink of an eye, Eugene vanished. Startled, Ganzedric looked down as if he'd just realized something. Eugene had transformed into small, lightning-fast vortexes charging forward. His mask fell to the ground. Ganzedric hurriedly gave chase. Batek, follow me. Cover our rear. A group of them pushed deeper into the cave with Ganzedric in the lead. Damn it! In the blink of an eye. He got that far ahead. Suddenly, Ganzedric's eyes widened. Eugene appeared in the blue light radiating from a flower he held in his hand. I've already cleared out all the monsters at the crossroads, and I found this in the corner over there. Is it valuable? Ganzedric was panting. Patek thought to himself, he can't even recognize a common glowgrass. Ganzedric was stunned by Eugene's power. How can he possess such an insane skill? Eugene was only focused on the flower in his hand. Ah, it's already wilted. After the battle, the soldiers were taken for treatment. The scene was chaotic. Oh God, I'm dying. Medic, I'm losing too much blood, a soldier reported. Sir, we've finished collecting the remaining mana stones. Eugene replied, bring them here to me. A few glowing mana stones, carefully wrapped in a piece of cloth, were presented. To think we beat that whole horde and this is all we get. Disappointed, Eugene ordered, let's rest for a bit. Gazing at the mana stone, he mused, unlike the one from the Doimer, this one glows blue. Just then Maison appeared. What a shame. Compared to a high-grade one, this is tiny. The quality of the mana stone is proportional to the monster's strength. Eugene asked, are wild mana stones bigger? The water spirit explained, when dungeon monsters go into the wild, they become Doimers, but that doesn't mean their mana stones get bigger. That crocodile you absorbed before was both huge and powerful, right? A special Doimer like that is very rare. It was a powerful being that occupied my domain. Eugene frowned, recalling the previous battle. He realized, so absorbing that Doimer's red mana stone was a real stroke of luck. The water spirit held its head and sighed. At this rate, coming to this dungeon to curry favor with the nobles is a total waste. Suddenly it wondered, I wonder if there are any high-level monsters here. Suddenly a loud noise rang out, making Eugene freeze. Ganzedric turned back and announced, damn it, I was just about to catch my breath. Breaks over reform the lines now. His formation was in disarray. Ganzedric angrily cursed, hey, you useless weaklings. Sir Eugene and I will take the lead. You follow behind. Anyone who deserts will pay the price later. While listening to Ganzedric, Eugene thought to himself, this is my first time in a dungeon too, and he wants me to take the lead. Ganzedric, still unaware, made a suggestion to Eugene. These mercenaries aren't much help. Sir Eugene, you should reorganize the formation a bit. Ganzedric put a familiar arm around Eugene's shoulder. Up ahead, we'll definitely face monsters on a completely different level than the last ones. You're getting excited, but the goblins are just sentries for the monsters that have long ruled this dungeon. That means at the very least we'll run into a mid-level boss before we can take them down. So deeper in and at the center of the dungeon, there will definitely be high-level monsters waiting. Ganzedric's words sent the soldiers into a panic. Eugene, however, listened intently to every word Ganzedric said. He remembered that day. After absorbing the red magic stone from the swamp lord, Amerta had gained an incredibly significant ability. Eugene clenched his fist. He was so curious. He wondered what would happen if he absorbed another one. Would I get a different ability, I wonder? After a moment of silence, he spoke. There are over 50 similar-sounding footsteps about 100 meters from here, and behind them are 3 much heavier targets. Ganzedric immediately broke into a smile, extremely intrigued by what Eugene said. Oh, Ganzedric made a suggestion. Want to try handling them yourself? Eugene didn't say much. He just narrowed his eyes. Eugene unleashed a strike with terrifying power, flattening the earth and rock around him. His attack was aimed straight at a giant goblin. With the battle initiated, Ganzedric and his troops advanced to seize the advantage. All troops charge, Ganzedric ordered the count. Stick close and protect the men. He replied, yes, sir. Up ahead, Eugene was fighting 2 giant goblins all by himself. He sliced off one of their arms. The soldiers behind him yelled, Sir, we'll support you. Eugene didn't stop. He leaped up to the eye level of one of the goblins and with all his might smashed it in the eye. A fountain of blood splattered everywhere as the goblin roared in agony. Its hand covered the wound, which was still gushing blood. Seizing the opportunity, Eugene jumped up and sliced off several of the goblin's fingers. He charged again, putting all his strength into a powerful downward stab. Blood sprayed from the goblin like a waterfall. Eugene licked his lips in satisfaction, the red blood making him look absolutely terrifying. That day, the soldiers below were stunned by what they had just witnessed. An image of the knight they so admired was carved into their hearts once more. Eugene swung his arm hard again, his knuckles digging into the goblin's head, caving it in. Eugene ripped the goblin's head clean off. Advanced swordsmanship, a path of righteousness, indomitable spirit, and dignified bearing. The goblin's head was torn away in a gruesome splash of red. Eugene looked like a demon. What they were witnessing was a far cry from their imagined concept of a knight. It was the complete opposite of their ideal. Eugene satisfyingly admired his own handiwork. He had the look of a terrifying wild beast. The 3 giant goblins were defeated and the soldiers got to rest after a fierce battle. Ganzedric stood observing the surroundings. An old soldier, wounded, gritted his teeth against the pain. The bodies of goblins and men lay strewn about. Ganzedric was lost in thought. Most of everyone's strength has been depleted after this battle. It can't be. How could our bodies be this exhausted already? It must be. Ganzedric came to a conclusion. Could it be that the sight they just witnessed has mentally exhausted them? The horrific image of Eugene ripping the goblin's head off flashed through his mind. It was a horrifying, bloody scene. Ganzedric considered giving up. Maybe we should stop here. He looked up at Eugene, who was resting, and asked, "Sir, we've met our quota. Should we head back?" Eugene looked disappointed. "I'm still full of energy. Who knows when we'll get another chance to come in here. It'd be a shame to miss this opportunity. Anyone who wants to go back can go ahead." Hearing this, Ganzedric immediately brightened up. "Well, then we have no choice but to follow you, sir. We will accompany you." Eugene jumped down from above and made a suggestion. "Ganzedric, you should lead the soldiers and leave the dungeon first." Ganzedric was taken aback. Eugene reaffirmed, "For the road ahead, all I need are me and these mercenaries of mine. That's all?" A voice rang out as Laban ran up. Please let me go with you, sir." Ganzedric grimaced. "Sir, don't tell me he realized how tired the soldiers were, and is being this considerate?" Behind them, Ganzedric's mercenaries let out a sigh of relief. "Phew! I thought he was going to force us." "Yeah, me too," Ganzedric mused. "Behind that cold exterior is a warm heart always thinking of those weaker than him." He was in awe of Eugene. "This young man truly makes me reconsider what a true knight is." Eugene, Laban, and Batek ventured deeper into the cave. Above them, a thick web of cobwebs was strung across the ceiling. Laban cowered, clutching his torch. "Damn it! I didn't want to come, so how did I get dragged into this? I'm scared to death." He reassured himself by remembering the sight of Eugene expertly dealing with the goblins. "No. Sir Eugene single-handedly took down those beasts. If things get dangerous, he'll definitely turn the tide." Laban's foot suddenly stepped on something. He froze. Eugene looked down at his feet. He lifted his leg. Underneath was the flattened corpse of a spider. Green slime stuck to his boot. Spiders. From the ceiling of the cavern, countless spiders appeared. They dropped down on their silk threads. The spiders looked terrifying with giant fangs and claws. Their enormous blood-red eyes took up more than half of their heads. Their outer shells were disgustingly rough. A species of spider-like monsters that swarms in caves using a powerful acid to liquefy their prey. Laban panicked and screamed uncontrollably when he saw them. As the spiders crawled closer, Batek urged, "There are too many of them. Please, let's retreat for now." Eugene repeated, bewildered. "Retreat!" Without another word, he charged forward, cutting down a huge number of spiders to clear a path. He said arrogantly, "This is nothing." Batek ordered Laban support him now. Laban was still struggling with several poisonous spiders. He shouted helplessly, "He already charged into the fight!" Batek also fought without stopping. The 3 of them quickly disposed of the poisonous spiders one after another. Laban fell surrounded by so many spiders that he could barely move. One of them opened its poisonous fangs wide. Laban scrambled back in fear, letting out a silent scream. He thought this was the end. But just then Eugene rushed in. Laban, who had squeezed his eyes shut, now dared to peek them open. He whispered, "Help me." Eugene continued to charge forward tirelessly. Laban panted heavily. He looked around in a daze, having just escaped the jaws of death. Spider corpses were strewn everywhere, some even piled up into a mountain. Eugene had just killed another one. Laban scrambled to his feet. "Sir, are you really a monster?" he wondered aloud. "As expected, he's truly invincible. You've already taken down enough of them, sir. Can we head back now?" Laban turned to Batet, looking for agreement. "Captain, you think so too, right?" When the captain didn't answer, Laban grew worried. "Captain..." Laban looked down and saw that Batet's legs had started trembling. His face was pale. How can something like this be in a place like this? Domers have a ranking system. Even among the same species, it's rare to encounter high-level monsters, so expedition teams don't usually account for this kind of situation. Batet thought to himself, that ridiculous size, it's obviously the highest-level spider. From above, a giant claw was revealed. The spider overlord. A grotesque, colossal spider appeared with sharp fangs. Its mouth split in two, revealing a long, dangling tongue. The enraged spider moved, preparing to attack. Batet screamed, "Retreat, Sir Eugene! We can't do anything to help you against a high-level overlord. At least wait for Sir Ganzedric to arrive as backup." Eugene's voice was stern. "Batet! Laban!" He glared at them, a clear warning. "You two fall back, this is my prey!" Batet bowed his head. "Yes, sir." He was terrified. What? This feeling, it's like I've completely lost control. Every nerve in his body seemed to be screaming at him to run immediately. He and Laban fled while behind them, Eugene fought the monster single-handedly. The water spirit appeared, snickering. "You little runts. Your instincts have already surrendered to the difference in level between you and my master. Am I right?" Eugene asked. "Mysian, is that overlord as strong as the swamp lord?" Mysian confidently declared, "Nope, it might even be stronger than the swamp lord." "Huh," Eugene said nonchalantly. "Well then, its magic stone must be bigger, right?" Across from him, the giant spider, unaware of its fate, was still roaring with its mouth wide open, while Eugene just said coolly, "Struggle all you want. The harder a treasure chest is to open, the better the prize inside." Scene change. A small spider was spinning a thread to climb down when suddenly something sliced through it, severing several of its legs. It was flung far away. Eugene's face was impassive. He snaps his fingers, looking at the dead spider. The scene of our hero's fight with the spider monster isn't shown. Eugene recalls the second ability he gained after swallowing the overlord's magic stone, the power of camouflage combined with the ability to strengthen his flesh. Its first use is to protect the body. Combined with the camouflage ability to regenerate human skin, I was finally able to stand under the sun. Thanks to that, I could avoid a lot of trouble. About having to avoid the sunlight? A girl's voice rang out. "Sir, you're not wearing your mask anymore." He was constantly surrounded by girls. It turns out, so all this time you wore a mask to hide this handsome face. It's a crime to hide a face like that. They chattered endlessly. "Oh, Sir Knight, please tell us the story of the last time the dungeon opened." All the young ladies leaned in closer in unison. "We heard you took down that giant spider all by yourself, is that true?" Eugene froze, bewildered. The water spirit appeared above his head and laughed loudly. "Ha ha, my boss sure is a tough guy." It teased, "Go on, tell them the story of your great victory." A blushing lady said shyly, "Sir Knight, your appearance is so magnificent. Could it be that you have elven blood in your veins?" Eugene was annoyed. Was elven. Contrary to my expectations, becoming a noble is just a pain in the ass. Behind him, Ganzedric, who had been messing around with everyone, suddenly stopped. He shouted, "Oh ho, now it all makes sense!" Everyone jumped and looked towards Ganzedric. He recounted, "That's right. Ever since we entered the dungeon, I noticed your eyes shone like headlamps. Your hearing was as sharp as a dog's. Your movements were incredibly agile, and your spear-throwing strength was terrifying. I knew you were no ordinary person." An excited Ganzedric, with Laban in a headlock with one arm and a mug of beer in the other, approached the young ladies. "Who would have thought you had elven blood?" Ganzedric stared intently. "But with looks like these, it'd be hard not to stand out. How did you manage to hide for so long?" Eugene was annoyed. He's annoyingly perceptive. Eugene rested his chin on his hand and said casually, "Well, it's not like I ever tried to hide." Eugene's beauty made everyone at the table pause for a beat. Even Laban blushed bashfully. The young ladies couldn't stop sighing. Oh my. Ganzedric covered his mouth, maintaining a straight face as he said, "What a smooth talker." Eugene sighed softly. "Is he just saying what he sees from now on? If anyone gets suspicious, I'll just blame it on my elven ancestry. So back when I fought the spider leader, I was victorious and obtained the magic stone. This time, swallowing the magic stone not only granted me a new ability, but the tattoo also disappeared." The tattoo in Eugene's eye suddenly vanished. This made Eugene remember a few things. Memories I'd never seen before surfaced in my mind. I saw an image of myself in an unfamiliar place, looking as I do now. A soft hand took mine. In the strange space, a bell chimed. Everyone was looking at me. Eugene wondered, who on earth was that woman in my memories? No. First, a terrifying thought crossed his mind. Are those really my memories? Eugene slowly closed his eyes. A past I can't remember at all. The only thing I have left. Someone was calling his name. Sir, Sir Eugene, please save me. The cry startled Eugene, snapping him out of the strange flow of memories. He looked to his side where Ganzedric was talking non-stop. Sir, please save me. Ganzedric was holding Laban in a tight headlock, making him gasp for air. This useless punk, I heard everything! You said that would just be a burden for him, did you? Laban clung timidly to Ganzedric's arm, frantically explaining that it was because Sir Eugene wasn't human. A normal person would have bolted ages ago. Ganzedric continued to press him, not letting Laban off the hook. So you're saying Sir Eugene is a monster? For now, I'll let you taste a bit of hell, Eugene mused. The only thing I remember is the name Eugene. But after what happened this time, I'm starting to get a feeling that if I keep removing these tattoos one by one, perhaps I'll discover the truth. Not some fabrication like being a knight or having elven blood, but who I truly am. Eugene's eyes wavered slightly at the thought. In the room, people were gathered around a sickbed. Ganzedric and Eugene were also present. Ganzedric bowed respectfully. Yes, it is a great honor to meet you, sir. Lord Tion, I am Kazema, the third son of Ganzedric. Copying Ganzedric's gesture, Eugene bowed. I am Gian, the eldest son of Eugene. The Lord praised them. You must have gone through a lot. He had someone bring out a tray. Present it to him. On the tray was a neatly rolled-up paper. I heard Sir Eugene needed proof of identity. I don't know if this will help, but this will serve as perfect proof of identity for Sir Gian of the Eugene family. Eugene carefully took the paper. Thank you, my lord. The old man coughed violently, and Kamazar rushed worriedly to Tion's side. He wearily opened his eyes and said, Kamazar, because of my second son's ambition, I cannot close my eyes in peace. In a soothing, soft voice, Kamazar said, Please don't worry, father. I will take over the land you worked so hard to build. He placed his hand on Tion's. The old man looked at him and continued speaking. My beloved son, that land is nothing but a pile of black dust. Remember this, a true lord must know how to lead people, not land. As Philip and the others listened sadly to the lord's final words. As he finished speaking, Tion's hands went limp. He had passed away. The people mourned the passing of their lord. Eugene thought, even though I don't know what kind of lord Tion was, quite a few people are grieving his death. But in the face of death, not everyone feels the same way. Potter stood outside, biting his lip hard, his face filled with rage. The sky gradually darkened, and a black cloud rolled in as if to signal that something bad was about to happen. Ganzedric prepared to leave. My apologies for leaving in the middle of the Lord's funeral. Kamazar was understanding. It's quite all right. I understand you have your own schedule. Ganzedric glanced at Eugene, wondering, is Sir Eugene really going to stay here? Eugene had already made up his mind. I plan to enter the dungeon one more time. It'd be a waste of the effort it took to open it. Ganzedric scratched his head and gave a wry smile. What a shame. If it were Count Everglow, he would surely value you greatly. He held his hand out to Eugene. Ganzedric declared generously, It was an honor to cross swords with a knight as strong as you. I hope that next time we won't be enemies. Eugene looked at Ganzedric's outstretched hand. He slowly raised his own. Eugene grasped Ganzedric's hand firmly. The two of them looked each other straight in the eye like friends. Laban lingered, waving. Please take care, Sir Ganzedric. Eugene gave an order. Batek, prepare to depart. He obeyed. Yes, sir. Philip asked in confusion. But didn't you just say you were going to stay? Batek didn't answer, instead asking, how did Sir Ganzedric travel? Philip recalled. Horses. Batek agreed. That's right. Knights, of course, must ride horses. So we plan to look for horses for Sir Eugene while heading to the Merchant Guild to deal with the monster materials. Hearing this, Philip got excited. I see then I'll also serve you diligently as your attendant. Eugene suddenly asked, Serve? His expression was terrifying. I have nothing for you to serve me with in the near future. Philip was dumbfounded. What do you mean by that, sir? Scene change. Philip appears at a worksite, a crate in his hands. Someone yells, Hey, are you going to work properly or not? In Marzen, the largest trade city in the KL Kingdom, a ship has just docked. Everyone's eyes are fixed on the piles of cargo. People were amazed. All of this was brought in by that one knight alone, brought back from a monster's lair. Laban crossed his arms and laughed loudly. That's right, These are all spoils of war obtained by Sir Eugene. Everyone's eyes widened. Eugene, isn't that the new knight who got famous for taking down that pack of hounds in Lord Tion's domain? The young knight who snapped the hounds' necks with his bare hands. Laban pointed and shouted, "Hey, you merchant! Don't you dare touch that without permission!" Philip's eyes looked up toward the sky. With a sweat-covered face, he thought to himself, "Sir Eugene, this story is getting a little out of hand, isn't it?" Just then a voice came from inside. "Please don't worry, Sir Eugene. I am Billmore, a representative of the Bew Association, the leading merchant conglomerate in Marzen. I will take full responsibility for processing all of these spoils." Eugene watched Billmore intently. "At first I was skeptical when Baytek recommended this merchant association, but I didn't expect them to be such a large conglomerate. This could be very useful for an outsider like me." The merchant's voice continued to ring out. "With my experience, I will drive the price of raw materials down to the absolute minimum if you sign an exclusive contract with me. I promise that I will." Suddenly, the sound of slow footsteps approached the door. It burst open, and a man asked in a stern voice, "Who is Knight Eugene?" Eugene remained calm, resting his chin on his hand. Baytek leaned in close to his ear and whispered, "Sir Eugene, it seems the situation just got complicated." He tilted his head. "What is it?" Baytek continued. "This man is just a secretary under the vice-chairman of the Balin Association." Eugene cut him off. "What does that mean?" "Explain it simply," Baytek continued. "What I mean is he has more power than Billmore, the man we're negotiating with. It looks like he wants to snatch away your spoils, Sir Eugene, for a dirt-cheap price. To ensure a stable source of income, you should be cautious right now." "Heh, you have such sharp, cautious eyes," Billmo said with an awkward laugh. "Sir Eugene is negotiating privately with me," he interrupted Billmo. "Don't try to compete with an opponent you can't possibly beat. Besides, I don't see any signed contract. Sir Eugene, the rumors about you have spread everywhere. They say the dog-neck-snapping knight of Tion is piling up mountains of spoils. Of course, that's just a baseless rumor to inflate the value of his goods. Such a transparent trick for an inexperienced little brat. Our Vice President Balin wishes to sign an exclusive contract with you, Sir Eugene. Please leave this shabby place and come with me, you newly minted knight. You only know how to use brute force. I'll skin you alive." Suddenly, Lou's expression froze and he flinched. Sir Eugene was staring daggers at him. What is this pressure? "Oh, I've been so rude. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Yen's secretary to Vice President Balin. This is sure to be a wonderful opportunity for you, Sir Eugene." His voice was stern and cold as he asked, "An opportunity? What kind of opportunity?" Yen slowly replied, "Better terms for your spoils, of course." Eugene's gaze, sharp and cold, bore right into Lou. "Better." Sweat poured down the man's face. Yes, our vice president will meet with you directly." Eugene's eyes widened, looking somewhat terrifying. "The vice president. Directly." At this, Lou was stunned and stammered, "If I have offended you, sir, I sincerely apologize. I meant no disrespect." Eugene's tone became menacing as he repeated, "Disrespect." Terrified, Lou hurriedly turned and ran. "Excuse me, I'll be back later." Bill. Mo was in tears. He was incredibly moved. "Sir, did you really turn down a contract with the vice president? For my sake." "I, Bill Mo, swear to support you, Sir Eugene, with everything I have. If you ever need anything, I am willing to do whatever you ask." Eugene looked surprised. "Is that so? I like that attitude." His eyes began to sparkle. "So when can I start?" Eugene began to stand up and continued coldly, "What do you mean, when? Right now. You get out." Bill Mo was taken aback. "Huh," Vassel spoke up. "So your offer was rejected?" Lou bowed his head. "It's humiliating, Vice President. The rumors are true. He is not to be underestimated." She turned her gaze out the window. "It's fine. Lift your head. Knights often make things difficult for merchants because of their honor and pride. In that case, we'll just have to make things difficult for them in our own way. For merchants like us, money and goods are our power, especially when our opponent is a dirt-poor knight who can't even afford a decent horse. Go and give a gift to Sir Eugene, a gift that no poor knight could ever refuse." Philip's eyes widened. "What, you're telling me to stay here and sell all these spoils?" Eugene continued in a serious tone. "You heard me. Continue selling the monster materials I bring back to the Merchant Guild." He stammered, "But why? Why do I have to stay behind again this time? Is it because I'm not strong enough to follow you yet, Sir Eugene? If that's the case, I'll start practicing my swordsmanship right now. Suddenly, Eugene cut him off. Philip, what is the duty of a slave? Philip lowered his head and answered slowly, To provide combat and daily life support for the knight I serve, Eugene said nonchalantly. You understand well. Your job is to support me as a slave, selling the spoils from my battles to make money. That is the task a knight assigned to my slave. As for the details, discuss them with Bilmo. He'll teach you a lot about business. Philip lowered his face sadly, thinking to himself, That's right. If it weren't for Sir Eugene, I would have died long ago. It's shameful of me to complain about something so trivial. Eugene spoke again. Once we've made enough money, I'll consider teaching you swordsmanship. Sooner or later, you'll have to support me in battle as my slave. Philip's cheeks flushed, moved by Eugene's words. He smiled gently, placing a hand on his chest. Philip's voice was soft. Philip, will obey the commands of Sir Eugene. Later, Eugene and Bates were walking through town. See you later, sir. He held up the empty cloth pouch. Does money always disappear this fast? Even though I spent the bare minimum, there's still nothing left. Oh dear, Bates wailed, dramatically clutching the pouch. Your shrunken purse makes my own heart shrink. Hey, sir. We'll make that money back soon, right, Sir Eugene? Suddenly his gaze froze, looking to the side. Before Eugene's eyes was a suit of armor made of a sturdy material. Bates spoke up. Whoa, that's leather armor, it's every knight's dream. Eugene asked in surprise, A dream, you mean it's expensive? He continued to explain, It's not just expensive. This is a treasure that even wealthy knights would only dare to use by passing it down from one generation to the next, never daring to discard it. Suddenly Laban appeared, running over and shouting frantically, Sir, Eugene! There's a report. A horde of giant doimers has appeared on the outskirts of Amazon. The doimers from the eastern forest are advancing on the city. The mages are trying to stop them. Bates immediately added, Perhaps we should join the suppression effort this time. Eugene was surprised. Why? Just then they both turned their gaze to Laban. Because unlike conquering an occupied lair, killing doimers doesn't incur a fee. And this is Mazer, a commercial city overflowing with money, the best place to sell spoils and trophies, at a high price and with no transportation fees. In other words, this is a chance to make millions. Eugene's face darkened as he turned to leave. There was no reason to hesitate any longer. Suddenly a foot appeared from behind. Wait a minute. Baddock's eyes widened. You are. Panting, he bent over, struggling for breath. Wait. Laban was surprised. Why is everyone so out of breath? Ron began to speak. I was sent by the Vice Guildmaster to present you with a warhorse, sir. Its coat is as black and smooth as velvet, with muscles so defined they look as if they were sculpted by the gods. This is a purebred steed with a pedigree, sir. His eyes sharpened with disbelief. The Vice Guildmaster sent this to me. The man recoiled in fear. That look in his eyes again. It's not that we want anything from you, sir. The boy's face flushed with anger as he glared at Eugene. Sweat streamed down the man's face. This is just a small token of our sincerity, sir. He quickly leaped onto the horse's back. Convey my thanks to him. Madian started to fly alongside. Get ready to rake in the cash, master. Laban stood there stunned, pointing. He already left. What are we supposed to do? The captain is too fast. We can't catch up anymore. Batek shouted angrily. What are you standing around for? He quickly started running. Hurry up and follow him, you idiots. Laban received the order. Yes, sir. Zhao stood firm, watching them leave. At that moment, dangers was brewing in the eastern forest outside Mazer. A group of goblins suddenly froze, turning to look behind them at the sound of a horse galloping frantically through the woods. Eugene swiftly cut them down one by one with his blade. Madian laughed excitedly. Master, look at that huge swarm of doimers. This must be a large-scale nest. I wonder if the ones up ahead have been cleared out yet. His eyes were filled with confidence. Good. I'm not in the habit of sharing spoils from deep within the forest. Now there was only a thick cloud of dust as the horse's hooves continued to pound the ground without rest. Sunlight began to filter through the leaves in the canopy above. Just then, Eugene finally showed signs of stopping when he saw a light ahead. A chaotic battle was raging. Matika was surrounded. You bastards, if you can't kill me, don't even think about taking another step. Giant goblins with blazing red eyes charged furiously. Matika and his horse lost their footing and crashed to the ground. The frightened horse ran off, leaving him behind. He cried out in pain. I, Matika, Knight of Justice, swear on the honor of Moran. Suddenly a weapon slammed into the ground. Trembling, Matika turned to see the goblins closing in. He cried out in despair, "Spare me!" Suddenly a weapon struck from a distance. It came from a figure rushing towards them. Eugene's face was grim, his sharp eyes ready for battle. His blade continuously cut down one goblin after another. The giant goblins fell. Matika's eyes widened as he sat frozen on the ground, witnessing it all. Eugene skillfully rode his horse in a circle around the goblin corpses. Matika chuckled, "I am truly indebted to you, sir. May I ask your name?" Eugene didn't answer. He just coldly swung his blade, swiftly cutting down a goblin that was trying to attack Matika from behind. The man's body trembled as he backed away. "My name, is that really important right now? If you die here knowing my name will be meaningless." Countless more monsters appeared, drawing closer. "You have a point. If I'm lucky enough to survive this hellhole, I will ask for your name again then." As we were advancing toward the great merchant city of Marzern, hundreds of goblins swarmed us like ants, but we fought to the very end. In that perilous moment between life and death, that knight coldly slaughtered the entire goblin horde. And of course I contributed as well. In the end, we were victorious and protected Marzern. Suddenly someone asked, who exactly was that knight?" Matika chuckled. "You're very curious, aren't you?" His voice turned serious as he pointed. "His name is Jan Eugene." The crowd started to murmur. "Jan Eugene, isn't he the knight who conquered the dungeon in the Tion territory? I heard he once ripped the spine out of a live hellhound. That renowned knight protected our city of Marzern. Sir Jan Eugene is the hero of Marzern." Everyone began to excitedly chant his name. "Jan Eugene! Jan Eugene!" Palion looked through the window and spoke. "The entire city is in an uproar over that knight's name. The more his fame grows, the harder he'll be to control." Luis Palion, former head of the Palion Merchant Guild and current mayor of Marzern. "Is it really all right to let this continue?" "Free seller, my beautiful niece," she bowed. "Of course. Everything is under control. In fact, I'm hoping Sir Eugene becomes even more famous. The greater a knight's reputation, the greater his fear of losing it becomes." "By the way, do you know about the disciple Jan Eugene has with him?" Palion continued. "You mean the child who supplies the guild with the spoils he gets from him?" She replied, "That's right. According to my investigation, that child is the secret illegitimate heir of the Tion family." Valen turned his head in surprise. "Oh, so you mean... VG Freeseller continued to explain, "While Sir Eugene's purpose is unclear, it seems he's earning money here to support the Tion family's illegitimate child. If we skillfully manage both of them, we can establish a relationship with that individual. Someone who could potentially become the new master of the Tion family in the future." Valen added, "That's my nephew, all right. I understand your plan. Buying out the 11 knights who are supporting the illegitimate child, is that it? Then I should also send a gift to Sir Eugene, shouldn't I? As the mayor of Marzern, I must repay the hero who solved the city's troubles. I'll nominate you as the liaison. Make good use of the opportunity." VG Freeseller bowed her head and replied slowly, "Yes, thank you, sir." At that very moment, night had fallen, blanketing the magnificent castle. A slender finger gently lifted a teacup. A thirsty man will always find his way to the river, therefore a merchant's job is simple. Freeseller suddenly smirked with a dark scheme in mind. Dig a well, and wait for the footsteps that are slowly approaching. Without resistance, without suspicion, the door finally creaked open. Eugene appeared before Freeseller. "I'll wait until they drink every last drop of the water I'm selling." Freeseller's face darkened with a hint of malice as she spoke. "Please come in, sir." He was clad in sturdy armor. "The hero who saved Moran, Sir Eugene." He spoke up, "I've come to express my gratitude." "You are Freeseller, the vice-director of Moran's Palion Merchant Guild, correct?" She answered, "Yes, I am Freeseller, the vice-director here. Please have a seat, Sir Eugene." To think a man with his appearance is the fearsome knight who crushed the skulls of those hounds. His face was cold as he looked at Freeseller, completely different from the knights she had met before. "The armor gifted by the mayor suits you well, sir. It was custom-made at the best forge in Marzern. It's made from a special steel alloy blended with LC iron and ogre bone. It's so hard that even a dragon's fangs would struggle to pierce it." Freeseller asked Eugene, "What do you think of it, sir?" He slowly replied, It's not bad. Thanks to this, I'll feel more at ease during the next dungeon raid." Thank you for the lodging and the delicious food as well. Because of that, my mercenaries' morale is higher. I hope to achieve good results in the near future. I wasn't expecting these gifts, but I acknowledge your goodwill. Free Seller smiled. In that case... Suddenly, Eugene stood up. Now about my proposal. He cut her off. Forget it. I'm busy, so I'm leaving. Free Seller was surprised. Huh, you're leaving already, sir? Eugene replied coldly. After I've cleared out the Tion family's dungeon, I'll stop by again. It's a small matter. No, that's not right. My contract only pertains to the spoils from this raid. This will likely be our final farewell. Next time, I'll be focusing on collecting magic stones. Eugene, still cold, turned to leave. Well then. Free Seller, angered, shouted, "Wait!" His sharp gaze froze. He stopped and turned back to look at her as Free Seller continued, "We still have much to discuss." His eyes narrowed as he asked in a low voice, "What do you mean by that?" Free Seller replied, "Sir, there's a limit to feigning ignorance. The most expensive armor in Moran, a prized horse with a pedigree, a luxury hotel and lavish meals for your entire mercenary band. The spoils you sold to the guild don't even cover half of that cost, Billmore." He was still listening intently to their conversation. She continued, "Don't tell me you don't know that everything in this world has its price. Or is that something you failed to learn in your studies if that's not the case? Then you're nothing but a shameless knight who knows nothing of honor. Would you like the people of Moran who sing your praises to learn this truth?" Eugene's eyes were sharp and cold as he stared. "The hero of Moran, Sir Eugene," Free Seller said with a laugh. "After receiving all these favors..." "You're just going to walk away now, Sir Eugene. Please enlighten me with your reasoning." At that moment, his lips parted slightly, as if he wanted to say something. Suddenly, Eugene smirked and replied, "How amusing. You want to give me orders the very first time we meet? You arbitrarily gave me gifts I never asked for, and now you demand something in return. A petty merchant like you dares to threaten me." His words now carried a considerable bite. Eugene continued, "You must be mistaken about something. So let me make this clear. I signed a contract with your Palin Guild through Billmore. As long as you purchase my goods fairly, I will leave you in peace. As for what the people of Marzen gossip about me, I couldn't care less. But like you said, everything has its price. Go on, try it, run your mouth all over town and see what happens. Then you will learn what the real price is. Vice Director of the Palin Guild. From my perspective, your guild is colluding with the city of Marzen to exploit the very knight who saved this city. Go on, keep living like that. The next time danger strikes, no knight will dare step forward to protect this Marzen again. My business here is done. I'm leaving." Billmore turned his head and added, "My apologies for the rudeness, Vice Director. This is truly a shame. If only you had handled things differently. Maybe we've become good partners after all." Billmore nervously watched the Vice President's expression as she suddenly spoke up. "Sir Eugene, please wait a moment. I have been truly disrespectful. I am V. Free Seller, Vice President of the Palian Merchant Guild's Modern Branch. I sincerely apologize, Sir Eugene. I let my greed get the better of me trying to gain the upper hand in our relationship. To make up for this discourtesy, I hope to start over with you, Sir Eugene. We will maintain the current contract with Billmore while adding a new clause. I assure you, you will not have to worry about a thing anymore. I'm so sick of knights who get soft at the sight of expensive bribes. Most of them are just fools chasing after fame and fortune. But this guy is different. Eugene's eyes are incredibly sharp. He's too dangerous to toy with. Maybe. That's why my merchant's intuition won't let me throw him away." Suddenly, V. Free Seller stopped, looked up at Eugene, and he replied, "Fine." His face darkened. "I'll hear your proposal, but it had better be an attractive one." V. Free Seller placed a hand on her chest and smiled. "Thank you for your generosity regarding my mistake." Madian laughed excitedly. "This fancy jewelry isn't half bad, is it? A knight really needs armor and a horse to look impressive. Did you hear that, darlings? This country truly is the most beautiful in the world." Barths added, "The contract is pretty solid." Eugene looked down at him and asked, "You think so too?" Barths nodded. "Yes, the scale of the Pelian Guild is too large to be taken lightly. Their headquarters is in Modern, and they have hundreds of branches throughout the Roman Empire, mainly dealing with high-status local noble families such as the Tion family. Their offer to arrange unlimited access to the dungeons and labyrinths connected to their branches is an incredibly groundbreaking proposal. With this condition, it's even better than being knighted by a noble," he said excitedly. "A fantastic negotiation, Sir Eugene." Eugene grimaced. "I was just saying whatever to get it over with." Suddenly a voice cut in. "You think wearing flashy armor makes you a knight? Look at that baby face. I bet you can't even hold a sword hilt properly. Madian spoke up. Hey, what did you just say, you rotten potato-faced punk? Kamazar waved and chuckled. You're right on time. Eugene was surprised. Ah, Sir Kamazar. No, I should call you Lord Tion now. The man replied, just call me whatever feels natural. You've changed so much. Eugene then asked, so what's the general situation? Kamazar answered, the thing is, my little brother not only hasn't given up, he's even hired new mercenaries, but there's something suspicious about them this time. Eugene was surprised. Suspicious. He continued, listen, remember those mercenaries my brother hired to capture Philip? The ones who got torn to shreds by wolves? As I recall, they were all scum. This new batch gives off the same vibe. Eugene's sharp eyes observed them intently. Kamazar continued, that's why for this dungeon subjugation, I need to ask you to take charge, Sir Eugene. Suddenly, someone quickly cut in. Hey, Lord Tione, if that kid dies in the dungeon, I get to be the captain, right? Kamazar exclaimed in surprise. What the hell are you talking about? KL continued. No, I just want to make things clear beforehand. A dungeon isn't some group picnic. It's a place where lives are as cheap as dirt. We have to be prepared for any situation. He looked at the Lord with a cold expression. I trust you'll be thorough. KL's face was extremely confident as he slowly emphasized the word captain. Eugene turned and said, that's a great idea. If I die, that bald guy becomes the captain. Kamazar was surprised. Bald guy, Eugene continued. Now that we have a backup plan, let's head out immediately. Myron suddenly pointed and said loudly, Sir, that man! Eugene replied coldly, I know. It's definitely Bert's scheme. He plans on using the mercenaries to take me out in the dungeon, but if things don't go the way they want them to, it could be quite interesting. At that moment, Eugene's sharp blade was cutting down one after another. The cave was filled with nothing but corpses, yet his arm showed no signs of stopping. The tip of his sword struck down with force and without a shred of mercy. KL watched intently. His reputation is no exaggeration, standing on the front lines fighting 100 men alone. The mercenaries we brought along are practically just sitting around. It feels like there's a giant shield protecting us. Cal gritted his teeth in anger at Eugene's prowess. I just have to wait for my chance. Wait for that one single opportunity for this poisoned blade to graze that hateful face of his. Eugene suddenly shouted, Up ahead is a zone where only mid-level monsters appear. From here on out, I can't guarantee your lives. Follow me if you want. In case anyone didn't understand, I'll repeat myself. Only those who are confident should follow me. KL spoke up. If you're going captain, how can we just stand still? Our chance has come. Laban chuckled. In that case, we'll go too. Bates stopped them. Hold on. We will stop here for now. Laban was surprised. Huh? He continued. It seems Sir Eugene has other plans. They began to head deeper into the dark cave. Eugene thought to himself. The last time I was here, I was with Ganzedric. Without him. Everything feels so boring. An image of Ganzedric appeared in his mind. Even though I only watched him for a short time, I could see that Ganzedric is an outstanding commander. He knew how to raise morale at just the right moment, choosing the most dangerous position for himself and charging forward. If it were him, he could probably lead even this ragtag group and clear this dungeon with ease. Eugene's footsteps continued at a slow pace. At this point, I'm curious. How would Ganzedric have handled this? So you've finally dropped that clumsy act. Fine, if you're that eager to die, then I will grant your wish. They were all shocked. What the hell? Why is there fire? Madian smiled confidently, power surging in his palm. They were quickly engulfed in flames. Run. It's fire magic. That guy can use magic too, I can't see anything. KL tried to calm them. Stay calm, relight the torches. Complete darkness fell over them. Why weren't you being careful? I can't see a thing. Eugene silently took them down in the darkness. Light a torch now. What was that? What's that sound? We're being attacked. We're under attack. Fight back. Countless screams of pain rang out. Wait over here! We're your comrades! A glowing red cord was wrapping around their bodies. My leg! The darkness was filled with nothing but piercing screams. Terrified, KL gritted his teeth. I never saw this coming. Help me! With no light, it's the perfect situation for him to wreak havoc. The old man repeatedly struck two rocks together. Come on, light! But suddenly KL's body froze at the sound behind him. Terrified, he slowly turned his head. Why didn't I hear a thing? Eugene's footsteps were slowly drawing near. His voice whispered right next to his ear. Do you need a light? You seem to be having some trouble. Let me give you a hand. Human eyes are so inconvenient, so weak in the dark. So how is it now? Can you see better? Who's the hunter and who's the prey? Kale, devoid of any emotion, could only stammer, "Faux four." The man spoke slowly from a mouth full of fangs. You monster. Scene changes to outside the mansion. A torrential rain fell as thunder roared across the sky. Someone's footsteps hurried forward. At that moment, Kamaz called out in a panic, "Sir!" The young master continued to stand there, pensively gazing out the window. After a moment, Eugene slowly glanced behind him. Botor, just as confused as Kamaz, hesitated and asked, "Sir, is that news really true?" He frowned at the person before him and exclaimed, "What is all this commotion?" Eugene let out an, "Oh, as for that, why don't you just ask the person involved directly?" Then a muscular figure was thrown straight onto the floor. Botor's eyes widened in disbelief. "You guys!" The old man clutched his face, his voice trembling. We were going to kill him. We were going to kill Sir Eugene, on Botor's orders." Hearing his name mentioned, Botor panicked and gave a forced laugh, denying it. This bastard has always spouted nonsense. Now he's truly lost his mind. Hearing this, Kamaz became furious and yelled, "Little brother, do you really want to take things this far?" Botor glanced over, retorting, "You're the one who needs to come to his senses. Are you really going to believe the nonsense of a madman?" "What did you say?" "Yugates, stop mumbling and speak clearly." Eugene stood behind the old man, controlling Yugates with his blood-red pupils. "Speak. What were you planning to do?" "How could I possibly dare to harm my master? A useless wretch like me deserves to die." Kamaz saw the old man dash past him and yelled, "Wait, what are you doing?" But he couldn't stop him. Yugates shattered the glass window with his body and leaped straight out. Kamaz grabbed onto the window frame, shouting, "Yugates!" A few seconds later, the old man's body landed on the sword of the statue below, horrifying everyone. Botor quickly spoke up, "See, brother, he had clearly gone." Insane. After seeing people ripped to shreds like paper by monsters, how could you believe such meaningless words? It's just too strange, isn't it? Kamazor frowned, reminding him, "I see you're quite pleased that he's dead." That makes it even more suspicious. When his brother hit a nerve, Bert was left speechless. Suddenly, Bert spun around and changed his target. "You too. John Eugene, have you no honor left as a knight? How dare you slander me with such vague and ridiculous words?" His face darkened as he questioned Bert. "On your honor as a knight, tell me, are you truly innocent?" Although terrified, he managed to force out 2 words, "Of course." Eugene suddenly raised his arm and declared, "Very well then, Bert Tion, I on my honor as a knight and in the name of truth." He pointed his blade forward, provoking him. "Challenge you to prove it in a duel." Hearing this, Bert could only grit his teeth, unsure of how to respond. The scene changes to the outside, where voices chatter in the twilight. Is the young master really going to hold a duel in the front courtyard? Goodness, what kind of trouble is he causing this time? I heard he hired an assassin. Hired an assassin, hump, he's always causing a ruckus, but this is too much. Who was he trying to kill? They watched the two of them, him and Bert, standing opposite each other, and gossiped. I heard he wanted to kill that knight the Lord once hired Sir Eugene. He solemnly raised the sword before his face. Kamazor, watching from the side, couldn't help but worry. He closed his eyes and thought, their disagreement is so severe that they're resorting to force to determine the truth. The truth will be guided, and by the true will of the gods. Eugene's cold face appeared with the thought, to the hand of the victor. At that moment, Bert swung his sword down with a piercing scream. He gripped the hilt tightly and charged towards him. Eugene simply held his sword out in front of him, and just after that, the two swords clashed with a sharp clang. Bert quickly drew his sword up in a powerful arc. He attacked him with all his might, but was still no match. Suddenly, something caused Eugene to lose focus for a moment. He remembered when Bert reported, I've found the vampire. Report to Sir Dundia immediately. Back in the present, he spoke, To think I've been chased by someone like you for over 10 years. Those words made him freeze, filled with both fear and worry. Seizing the opportunity, he slashed downwards, pushing Bert back. He gritted his teeth, glancing down at his own sword. After swinging his sword back, his opponent's blade was sent flying into the sky. It quickly stabbed straight into the ground. At the same time, Bert fell with a thud. His pupils glowed red, his voice filled with killing intent. Now take this! Terrified, he could only stare blankly at what was coming while Kamazor was thinking Bert's swordsmanship isn't bad at all, it's just that this time, even an outsider could see it clearly. He stood completely still the moment he saw his younger brother fall. In that instant, Kamazor realized Eugene was far stronger than his younger brother. Kamazor observed the overwhelming aura coming from Eugene and confirmed it. He was on a whole other level. Without hesitation, one of Bert's arms went flying. Only then did he rush over, shouting, "Stop!" He glanced over coolly, repeating one word, "Stop, the duel isn't over, Sir Tion." Kamazor held out his arm to stop him. "I cannot stand by and watch my brother die at your hands, Sir Eugene. Bert Tion is injured and can no longer prove his claim. The victory belongs to you, Sir Eugene." Bert frantically shouted, "I can still fight. Let me send him to hell myself." Seething with rage, he yelled, "Bert Tion!" He looked down at his younger brother and advised, "That's enough. The winner has been decided. Accept your guilt with dignity and repent in prison." He yelled in frustration, "Shut up! What crime have we committed?" Kamazor pulled him back, but Bert gripped his sword tightly and roared, "Jean Eugene!" Bert charged forward, consumed by rage. "If it weren't for you, you should never have appeared in my life. Then I wouldn't have had to suffer like this." A moment later, a brilliant slash flashed past his face. Suddenly, Eugene looked down at Bert in confusion, wondering, why won't my body listen to me? His feet remained firmly planted there, but Bert had already collapsed in his armor. His brother's eyes widened in horror as he heard, "You should have taken the last chance your brother gave you." Eugene withdrew his sword, leaving a long trail of blood as he called out, "Bert Tion." The people standing around could only watch in silence. When it was over, he turned and walked away. He left behind an incredibly tense atmosphere. Kamazor's face was grim as he let Eugene and his men leave just like that. He thought to himself, "My foolish little brother." The scene changes to a harbor. Seagulls fly high in the sky. As Eugene walked along the corridor, a voice echoed in his ear. "You don't regret it, my lord?" he asked nonchalantly. "Regret what?" Midian flying ahead replied. "Ah, the first demonkin you ever created. Was he just used to take the blame and then be thrown away?" Eugene thought back to that time and said, "It was nothing. He was so weak he couldn't even handle becoming my demonkin. Keeping him around would only expose my identity as a vampire. Using him as bait for the duel was enough. Did you really think I would spare someone who dared to bare their fangs at me?" Hearing this, Midian marveled, "This is what a cold and emotionless vampire is truly like. A vampire should have hordes of slaves. Slaves are a symbol of a vampire's power after all. You bluntly answered that you didn't need it." He let out a sigh. "You really don't understand anything about bloodkin." Eugene reached for the doorknob, thinking to himself, "Fiends created from such weaklings are just a waste of effort to clean up. If I'm going to choose a worthy candidate..." Just as he opened the door, a panicked voice cried out, "Sir Ganzedric!" He stared blankly as they talked to each other. Yes, I heard it's complete chaos over there. When on earth did you go in there, sir?" "It's been 2 weeks." Versalot suddenly turned around. He froze for a moment, then quickly ran over to greet him. "Hello, sir. I heard that you also successfully cleared a dungeon this time." He nodded. "Yes, I am also glad to see you again. Sir Ganzedric, did something happen?" Versalot fell silent for a moment, momentarily unsure of how to begin. Then he began his tale. "Actually, 2 weeks ago, Sir Ganzedric was taking part in the labyrinth conquest in Count Everglove's domain when he suddenly vanished inside all alone. We searched all the way to the mid-level monster zone but found no trace of him." He tensed, thinking back on the man's words. He must be trapped in the high-level monster zone. And with that, he rode his horse straight through the desolate forest. The doors were thrown open, and as he stepped inside, a figure standing on the floor above greeted him. "Greetings, Sir Eugene. Your reputation precedes you. You are much younger and more handsome than I imagined." Eugene bowed formally to him. "It is a great honor to meet you, young Master Kevin. This warm welcome." He suddenly cut him off. "All right. This matter requires further discussion." The eldest son of the Everglove family invited him inside. The two of them entered a room and sat down. He spoke first. "It seems Sir Ganzedric was far too ambitious. If this dungeon subjugation had been successful, and we were planning to grant him a title, but we never expected him to enter the upper floor on his own accord." Eugene tilted his head in confusion. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" The man replied, his expression unchanged. "That's right. Unfortunately, that upper floor is a place our Everglove family has been unable to reach for the past 100 years. It is known as the Dungeon Lord's domain. He was a little surprised by what he heard. The Dungeon Lord, Dugheitz, who was sitting off to the side, spoke up lazily, is an entity that doesn't just reside in the dungeon but rules over it entirely. He propped his chin on his hand and smirked. Sir Ganzedric, in his greed for glory, acted recklessly and has caused a great deal of trouble for many. He stood up and walked toward them. Allow me to introduce you. This is the knight who defends our domain, Sir Dugheitz. He was the one commanding the dungeon subjugation army alongside Sir Ganzedric. Only then did Dugheitz offer a greeting. A pleasure to meet you. I heard you defeated Ganzedric in a duel. You know, we have an interesting common ground. I am the champion of the Everglove tournament, which means I defeated Ganzedric in a match. So we both share the experience of having defeated Ganzedric. Interesting, isn't it? Eugene, his expression a stark contrast to the man's cheerfulness, replied, Is that really important right now? Kevin quickly stepped forward to ease the tension. What I mean is Ganzedric is a talented man. His loss is a great regret for us. I offer my sincerest apologies to you, Sir Eugene. He gestured towards him and asked hesitantly, I heard that you and Sir Ganzedric share a very deep friendship. Is that right? An image of Ganzedric winking flashed in his mind, saying, Sir Eugene and I are kindred spirits, you know. He replied wearily, then thought to himself, you could say that. That damned fool. Kevin sat down in his chair opposite Eugene. Since you're such close friends, I imagine you're eager to help Sir Eugene. Now listen closely. For the past 100 years, our family has attempted to conquer the upper floor many times, but the result has always been the entire party going missing. Because of that, we have a rule: if someone isn't found for more than 1 month, we stop the search and declare them deceased. Do you understand Sir Ganzedric has been missing for 3 weeks? If he isn't found within the next week, hearing his final words, he froze, his eyes widening, then it will be considered hopeless. Eugene shot to his feet. Then I shall take my leave and set out immediately. Seeing this, Kevin quickly raised a hand to stop him. Hold on, I understand your haste. But the dungeon is not a place one can simply come and go from. He held up 3 fingers. 3 days. In 3 days, Sir Dugheitz and I will prepare an elite squad. He turned back, listening silently as Kevin continued. In the meantime, please rest and recover your strength. With a dark expression, Eugene said, Thank you, sir. The man went on. One more thing. We've just hired a mage. I will send them to assist you. They should prove quite useful. Myron appeared, rubbing his chin. An outside mage, though. He then leaned toward Eugene. That pointy-haired guy is completely useless. Myron suddenly shouted in anger, making him look over. He may look scrawny, but his skills are the real deal. Do you believe me, sir? I'd love to dump a bucket of water up his nose to snap him out of it. Eugene didn't answer, lowering his head in thought. There's more than just 1 or 2 suspicious things going on here. Before I left Ganzedric, he told me. A memory from the past suddenly flashed through his mind. I'll be granted a title by Count Everglove for this achievement. There! Why don't you come along with me and reap these great rewards? Back in the present, he focused his thoughts. He was promised a title. That's why he was so determined to open that door and clear the dungeon. The monsters in the dungeon? Why did they suddenly change like that? Besides, from what I know, he's not the type to act recklessly just for the thrill of fighting monsters. Suddenly, a villager shouted, Hey, over there! Over there! Eugene, not hearing them, remained lost in his thoughts. No matter how rushed he was, he would have prepared an elite team and advanced safely. The villager continued to shout a name that snapped him back to reality. The Messiah is coming. Before him, an old man stood on a stage. On the day the red shadow covers the moon, the goddess of victory will descend in fury to destroy this world. The panicked villagers shoved each other, bumping into Eugene. The calamity has already begun. The earthquakes near the dungeon caused the forest animals to die in droves. And recently, a talented knight went missing in the dungeon, too. Mizion wondered, pointing forward. Aren't they talking about that spiky-haired guy? The old man on the stage raised his voice and shouted, Spill the blood of a young bull before your doors and offer the rest of its meat as a sacrifice. Only then will the Messiah descend to save this blood-soaked land. The murmuring in the crowd grew louder. Oh my God, what are we supposed to do? What the hell is this? Some kind of heretical cult? He too was a bit startled and asked Eugene, What kind of crazy language is that? Eugene's face was grim as he spoke. The atmosphere in this village is not normal at all. A young man walked over, handing Eugene a flyer while shouting loudly, "The gods are angry, so place your faith in me right now." He held the paper in his hand and read it. The animals dying from earthquakes near the dungeon. Could it be that a part of the dungeon collapsed, allowing the monsters to crawl out? If that's the case, then why would Ganzedric... Eugene spun around in a hurry. "Mizion, we have to get to the dungeon. Right now." Seeing this, he asked, confused, Why, master?" Someone from behind stepped forward, having overheard the conversation, and smirked. 3 days is still too long. We'll find him ourselves first. Ooh, yeah, let's wipe them all out." The person walked past him, a grin stretching nearly from ear to ear. Well, well, I didn't expect to find a vampire here. As if his secret had been laid bare, Eugene whipped his head around to look at the person. The hood obscuring half their face continued to speak. "I heard that the vampires on this continent were almost completely wiped out by the Holy Knights. To think you'd dare to walk around so brazenly in broad daylight." At those next words, his entire body tensed as if frozen solid. Elgin quickly grabbed the person by their collar. Then he dragged her into a hidden corner while the villagers continued to spread the rumor, "The Messiah is coming. From now on, just believe in me, everyone." He forcefully shoved the person against the wall, making her grit her teeth in pain. With his eyes glowing red in the darkness, his voice was sharp. "Tell me who you are now. How did you recognize me? If you don't answer quickly, I will snap your neck." As she was lifted off her feet, she began to struggle. "Wait, hold on. Let me go and I'll talk." Her face was drenched in sweat as she spoke with difficulty. "I am..." As soon as he heard the answer, the killing intent in his eyes subsided. "A Piginra." Mizion, sitting with his arms crossed, tilted his head to one side. "Piginra. Sounds familiar." Suddenly he gasped, shouting, "Ah!" Mizion flew over in a hurry, holding out his hand. "Master, stop. If you kill her now, you'll ruin everything," he shouted frantically, waving his arms around. "She's a mage. The Piginra sect is a lineage of mages that has served vampires for generations." He turned his face towards her, his hand unconsciously tightening its grip. "Served who?" After a sharp cry, she fainted. Seeing this, he remained silent for a moment before speaking. "She's passed out." The scene changes. She's sitting inside a room, clutching her throat and coughing violently. "Why do you attack first and ask questions later? Who would dare answer you like that?" Eugene looked away to avoid her gaze. "Ah, I'm sorry." Mizion jumped to his feet in anger. "Humph, what a sharp-tongued woman." She raised a hand to cover her mouth and coughed. "Ahem. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Shizuno Azumagi, a member of the Piginra sect which specializes in serving vampires. Our sect has the ability to identify vampires instantly. It is an honor to meet one of the children of the night, my lord. I was also looking for you, Eugene, at the request of young Master Zevin." Hearing that, he thought, so the mage Zevin mentioned was her. Shizuno Azumagi hesitated before asking, "According to the young master, you and Sir Ganzedric share a very close friendship. Is that correct?" Eugene heard this and could only remain silent. That guy and his big mouth. When I find him, I'm going to shut him up for good. She lowered her head slightly, glancing away. "I was also part of the dungeon subjugation force at that time, when he disappeared." Mizion and Eugene were stunned. Then he spoke up. "Can you tell me in detail what happened at that time?" Shizuno Azumagi bowed her head, her gaze falling. "Yes. At the time, I needed an item from a monster, so I volunteered for Count Everglue's campaign. The Everglue dungeon is famously treacherous, but it had been explored for 100 years, so every floor was completely mapped out except for the upper levels. Because of that, everyone entered quite casually. Of course, there were still casualties. As we were advancing deeper, the ground suddenly split open. The soldiers shouted, "Wait, stop, it's an earthquake!" Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the entire dungeon. Finally, the ground beneath my feet crumbled. Just as I was about to fall, a hand shot out and grabbed my arm. It was Sir Ganzedric who was guarding the rear. He saved me falling into the chasm in my place. Thanks to him, I was lucky enough to escape and wake up. The soldiers began to complain. How dare they open such a dangerous gate? Everyone believes Lord Ganzedric caused the earthquake by opening the upper-level gate. He saved my life, so the least I could do was inform Lord Eugene, who is also his best friend. I never imagined you were a vampire. Eugene tilted his head up slightly, thinking. What Zevin was saying was far from the truth. Eugene looked away. Did that bastard Kevin lie to me, or did someone pass on false information? Shizuno Azumagi suddenly spoke up.
I saw something at that time.
In the deep abyss where Lord Ganzedric fell, there was a drawing of a giant eye. Eugene found this strange and asked, "An eye?" She quickly replied, "Yes, Lord Eugene." "Do you still have the paper that those cultists were handing out?" His expression darkened as he recalled the eye on the paper. "The drawing on it was identical to what I saw." Below, inside a cave, those people were shouting loudly, "Worship him, adore him. The Messiah is about to descend. Offer your flesh, your blood, and your devout hearts to welcome him. He will lead us to salvation." A cultist, his face hidden by a cowl, revealed a sinister and cruel smile. "He is about to awaken." The men eagerly reported that the food supplies were ready. Mercenaries and knights had all gathered, their voices growing louder. "We can march out right now!" "Is that so, Sir Eugene? Are you excited to face the dungeon?" His tone grew more mocking. "Let's just hope we don't have to carry any corpses back." He's not the type to die so easily. He laughed loudly as if completely satisfied. "Ganzedric is really trusted, huh?" Eugene glanced over silently, thinking to himself, "Even though I wanted to enter the labyrinth sooner, ever since I learned Ganzedric's disappearance wasn't a normal accident. I need to keep a close eye on this guy. You've waited for us for 3 weeks. Surely you can wait another 3 days, right?" the man said as he suddenly appeared. At that moment, a group strode forward. "Greetings, Sir Eugene. We are the Holy Knights from the Everglue Monastery. It is an honor to accompany a true knight of faith such as yourself. We are deeply moved by your determination to risk your life for others. In the name of God, please fight alongside us."
A vampire? A true man of faith?
my Dione teased. Eugene was dumbfounded.
Oh, well, I'll do my best.
The comrade standing beside him laughed loudly. "Holy knights are followers of God's will. It's rare to see them take notice of another knight. Sir Eugene, you could become a holy knight yourself someday, couldn't you?" His face darkened.
A vampire holy knight? Eugene smirked his smile, holding no goodwill, only a deep hidden mystery.
His crimson eyes glared at him in silence. The doors swung open as if to welcome them all. Eugene called out, "Pateth, come here, we need to talk." "Yes, sir," he replied. All around voices reminded the others, "We'll take a short break here. Don't let your guard down. Just get some water and return to your positions immediately." My Dione was looking around with sparkling eyes.
"Master, this place is magnificent," Eugene observed, thinking. "It's completely different from any dungeon I've ever seen. This place was artificially created so it has the minimum conditions necessary to sustain life. The monsters are also moderately distributed. If the worst happens, we could probably hide in this labyrinth and survive." Just then, Eugene said loudly, "This is the perfect place for evil creatures to hide, isn't it? Don't you agree? Truly an outstanding talent. No one has died on the way here." Eugene mused, then asked, "How much farther to the place where Ganzedric disappeared?" The man scoffed. "Don't be so hasty. You said you trusted Ganzedric, didn't you?" Elgin responded to Eugene with a sharp gaze as if piercing his throat. Eugene continued arrogantly, "But right now the person you should trust most is me. Didn't I tell you? This labyrinth. We of Everglue already know all of its traps. Then why do people still die every time you come here?" he asked curiously. The man chuckled. "Oh, that's just a small matter. You can think of them as sacrifices to ensure a safe return." Eugene was horrified to hear such a shocking revelation as he stepped into the labyrinth, and the groups of holy knights from the monastery were busy observing the surrounding terrain. Just then the ground began to show strange signs. The man called out, "Earthquake!" Eugene shouted, warning everyone to be careful. "The labyrinth structure is changing." Elgin shot him a death glare. He raised his voice. "This is it." Eugene pointed to where the wall was collapsing. "The walls are constantly shifting." He quickly explained his plan. "There's a shortcut to the upper floor." Amidst the chaos, a loud shout was heard. "Sir Eugene, it's an earthquake." Eugene stood in the middle of the shaking cave with an arrogant air as if he feared nothing. He stared up at him in shock, wondering, "What do you mean a shortcut?" At that moment, the man's mouth split into a wide grin. "And the path is about to close. It's right where you're standing, Sir Eugene," Eugene announced. And just like that, the rotating mechanism spun rapidly, making horrifying sounds. Whirlwinds rushed in around Elgin, making the air thick and heavy. Someone wondered, "Huh? What is this?" He frowned, thinking, "This definitely isn't a natural earthquake. I've fallen into a trap that bastard knew about all along, but what is he ultimately after?
Sir, over there! Shizuno Arizona shouted in horror. Something made his eyes widen in utter shock. Elgin stared stunned at the blood-soaked body bound to a wooden post. Ganzedric. Furious, he shot into the air, hurtling towards Ganzedric. Elgin's heart ached, seeing the pale, battered body on the post. He quickly and gently touched under his nose to check for breath. His red eyes narrowed. He's still alive. If I can treat him in time, he'll make it. My Dione whispered, Master, something is very strange here. I've been feeling something unusual from deep below for a while now. Suddenly, from out of nowhere, a strong gust of wind swept by, throwing them off balance. Shizuno Azumagi looked up in shock. Where is this wind coming from? A murky red orb of energy appeared in the vast open space, illuminating a pair of brightly glowing eyes that stood out in the chaos. The dragon spewed disgusting blood-red flames of energy, filling the air with a pungent smell. Its tail thrashed against the ground, making the battlefield shake as the two of them watched the scene unfold. It's furious! She screamed, her face pale. That's a minotaur! Eugene reminded Shizuno Azumagi, protect Ganzedric. The creature's immense power easily sent earth and rock flying into the sky. He dashed forward at terrifying speed, creating a piercing sound as his feet scraped the ground. He smoothly dodged its brutish attack. Elgin's sharp eyes keenly observed the Minotaur's posture. Enraged, it spewed a horrifying torrent of fiery energy, sending him sliding backward. Eugene's entire body was thrown into the air. He winced, letting out a soft groan, and even Shizuno Azumagi was flung into the air by its chaotic speed. The Minotaur drew its glowing, fuel-filled sword. Its massive body and powerful grip on the weapon exuded a brutal, aggressive aura. At that moment, Eugene was desperately clinging to the wall. He screamed, Wait! What are you planning to do? Its glowing, murky red eyes seemed to be aimed straight at him. In one swift motion, the Minotaur's sword slammed into the ground. It caused the earth and rock to tremble. But the surprising thing was, Ganzedric's body, which had been clinging to a wooden beam, was also shattered. Witnessing this before his eyes, Eugene frowned and grit his teeth in anger. He gathered all of his strength against the wall to launch himself forward. He desperately reached his hand out towards Ganzedric as if he could grasp him. Ganzedric. A fearsome determination filled his eyes, wanting to end this quickly. But just then an energy barrier appeared, stunning him. His face contorted as he screamed, What the hell do you think you're doing? Shizuno Azumagi simply explained, Lord Eugene, that's a minotaur. It's one of the highest-level elite monsters. She stated the plain truth. Even a vampire would be killed instantly. Eugene bared his fangs. His eyes filled with a murderous aura. He aimed his sword straight at her face, and then lowered it. You are insolent, Shizuno Azumagi. She replied, trembling, I apologize, Lord Eugene, but I cannot stand by and watch a vampire rush to his death. And fighting a minotaur head-on like this? The chances of winning are far too low. If you truly wish to save Lord Ganzedric, then you need to be more level-headed. Oh, but why is a minotaur appearing this early? Is this labyrinth really that massive in scale? I thought there were only clovers here. While they were talking, the door behind them began to open. Light shone directly on them along with his provocative voice. Well, hello. I didn't expect that mage to be able to use grand earth magic. It's thanks to her you survived. I thought she was just some eccentric sorceress who only knew how to create illusions. Who would have thought? His eyes were sharp and his lips curled into a provocative sneer. Sugaitz! Sugaitz laughed loudly. Well, I didn't expect that mage to be able to use grand earth magic. The truth is, you don't really want to save Ganzedric, do you? Shizuno Azumagi started to reply. It's because it all happened so fast. Suddenly, Eugene's muscular arm shot out and grabbed Sugaitz by the collar. So it was you. His eyes were piercing. The one who turned Ganzedric into this pathetic state. He chuckled. Well, now I saw that Lord Eugene missed his friend so very much, so I just helped the two of you meet. You're so different from those commoners. You're so rude, Lord Eugene. Sugaitz slowly took hold of Eugene's trembling arm. Suddenly, Eugene's gaze froze, glancing to the side at his hand. He quickly snatched his hand away from Sugaitz's grasp. Shizuno Azumagi's eyes widened in shock as she cried out, That was... Eugene continued, That power just now. The back of Sugaitz's hand is glowing purple. That wasn't your own power, was it? Shizuno Azumagi added, My lord, that pattern is clearly a power transfer spell.
It was originally used to transfer energy between humans, but when people started using it to transfer the power of non-human creatures, it was forbidden completely. Sugaitz interrupted. Forbidden magic. That's just a cowardly play on words by those who want to monopolize all the power. You still don't get it, do you? We are the chosen ones. When despair floods the world, we will survive by the will of the gods. Sugaitz's expression froze as he was cut off. Is that so? You borrow someone else's power to defeat Ganzedric, then act like it was your own in front of me, fine. I'll teach you your place. Suddenly a blazing red aura erupted from his entire body. The two powerful auras clashed. Shizuno Azumagi thought to herself, this energy is terrifying. How can an ordinary vampire possibly release something like this? Sugaitz's attitude was now supremely confident. Well, I suppose hiding my true power isn't such a bad thing. His hand shot out and struck Eugene. Sugaitz's palm pressed flat against his chest. The symbol on the back of my hand is glowing, but unfortunately for you, I have no intention of retreating. Both Eugene and Shizuno Azumagi were now floating in midair. He continued to shout, I already told you! I've figured out every single trap in this labyrinth. Sugaitz's eyes glowed as he laughed. Now fall into darkness, Eugene. Suddenly sensing the danger, Eugene's face contorted as he yelled, Shizuno Azumagi. A powerful magic circle appeared beneath her feet. Eugene's body rapidly changed course, flying up towards Sugaitz, his eyes sharp. His hand was gripping the hilt of his sword tightly. Sugaitz's expression, however, showed not a single trace of fear. The sharp blade flashed across Sugaitz's cheek. His gaze slowly shifted down to the trickle of blood on his skin. But in the blink of an eye, the blade shattered in two. He thought to himself, I had heard you were strong, but that just now truly surpassed my expectations. In a direct confrontation, I'm not certain I'd win. Indeed, using Ganzedric as bait without killing him was the right decision. At last, the final sacrifice is about to be offered. The magic circles began to shatter. I'm sorry, Lord Eugene, I can't draw any more circles. Shizuno hurriedly cried out. Wait, my lord, where are you going? Her face was filled with panic. Faced with the current situation, Shizuno Azumagi quickly tried to flee. What is even happening? I should have just pretended I saw nothing. Why did I have to get involved and end up in this mess? Suddenly she froze, looking ahead. His face darkened, holding Ganzedric in his arms. He spoke. Hey, can you save him? Shizuno Azumagi stammered, Yes, my specialty isn't healing magic. Eugene's voice was cold. That's not the answer I want to hear. Terrified, she didn't dare to respond to Eugene. Suddenly a crimson vortex appeared below. I'll do my best. Mazion cried out urgently. Master, I've checked. There's no way out at all, Eugene said grimly. No wall can be broken. Mazion continued. Yeah, this place is like an isolated boss room at the end of a dungeon. It added solemnly, Master, there is something I must report. Although this place is filled with water energy, a water spirit cannot control anything here. Its gaze shifted forward, especially that pool of water. Eugene's expression froze as he carefully observed his surroundings. The glowing eyes on the walls. So these are the eyes that Shizuno Azumagi saw underground. He spoke, asking Mazion, Why can't you control this? It replied, In principle, I can only control the blood of the dead, which means the owner of this blood is still alive. Suddenly a dangerous presence stirred beneath the water's surface. A pitch-black monster was trying to rise from below. Eugene stood firm, fearlessly watching the monster emerge. Shizuo Mazari was channeling energy into Ganzedric. She was also completely stunned. Eugene yelled, Mazion, find any way to create an opening for us to escape. It received the order, Yes, Master. Before him was an absolutely enormous demon king. His expression darkened as he glanced back to see Ganzedric still unable to move. Eugene's gaze suddenly shifted. I have to neutralize that thing first. As the thought crossed his mind, he charged forward. The Demon King's massive hand also began to rise. Faced with the utter chaos before him, his expression showed no mercy. Gritting his teeth, he leaped high, his body moving across the surface of the crimson water. Now! His blade swiftly struck the Demon King's body. Suddenly, Eugene froze, looking at his shattered blade. The Demon King then began to open its massive mouth. With a beam of light building inside its arm, smashed Eugene, sending him flying. Streaks of blood mixed into the crimson water. Eugene suddenly stopped and looked back. His eyes sharp, he gritted his teeth, gathered his strength, and leaped high. Eugene's body then blended into the water as he moved skillfully, constantly changing direction. The giant demon king remained frenzied and merciless. Eugene glanced down at his sword. A normal sword couldn't even leave a scratch. Suddenly a surge of power appeared. Slowly from within his armor, crimson streaks gradually enveloped the blade. Eugene's face darkened as he took a ready stance. I guess I'll have to make do with this for now. He glared intently at the demon king. His feet quickly launched him from his position, his face grim, his sharp eyes scanning his surroundings. He moved skillfully, changing his line of attack, but suddenly his body froze from a sharp jolt of pain. The demon king before him was still a difficult threat to defeat, and it continued to attack relentlessly. Showing no mercy, it slammed Eugene into the stone wall. A purple power enveloped the demon king's entire body. Shizuno Azumagi was still concentrating on channeling energy into Ganzedric. Looking up, her face filled with fear, she stammered loudly, "Hey, Sir Ganzedric, wake up! Your friend is in danger!" Eugene was trying to get back up. What Shizuno Azumagi said was right. A trickle of blood appeared on his face. This high-level monster is unusually strong. Its eyes glowed with rage as it stared. Suddenly, the Demon King's giant arm reached out to do something. Eugene's eyes froze at the Demon King's action. Its eyes were still glowing, its next move unpredictable. A fire arrow shot through the crimson haze, hurtling toward them at incredible speed. Eugene used his whole body to shield Shizuno Azumagi and take the hit. Horrified, her eyes widened at what was happening. "Sir Eugene—" His face darkened as he struggled to look up, panting heavily. Eugene's body trembled. So helpless. This familiar feeling has haunted me for 15 years. Just as he expected, the massive palm attacked again. Eugene's eyes looked up without a trace of fear. But why? Why does it hurt more this time than it did back then? His entire body was being submerged in the water. The streaks of blood on his face flowed endlessly. Before his eyes was the image of Shizuno Azumagi, who was terrified, and Ganzedric, who was unconscious. Why wasn't Ganzedric showing any signs of waking up? Suddenly, his eyes slowly began to open. Ganzedric's eyes widened in surprise as he looked towards Eugene, but Romani's gaze couldn't hide his absolute horror. In front of him, Eugene had collapsed, lying in a pool of blood. "I warned you, Sir Eugene. Your body has been pierced by the power of an ancient monster." Romani was terrified. Even for a vampire, there's no chance of winning against this thing. He was in despair. There's no way out now. The monster before them was still opening its mouth wide, gathering power in its throat. "Are we really going to die just like this?" Romani squeezed his eyes shut. The tears he tried so hard to hold back finally streamed down. "I'm sorry, Master. This worthless disciple of yours will go on ahead." But unexpectedly, a voice suddenly called out, "Sir Eugene." He looked down in astonishment at Ganzedric, who had woken up at some point. He suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood, his breathing heavy and labored. "Damn it. In the end, you got dragged into this because of me." Romani urged, "Hey, we're going to be next. We have to run." Ganzedric struggled to sit up and refused no. He gritted his teeth, blaming himself. "That bastard Luger-Itz used me as bait to lure Sir Eugene. His target was Sir Eugene from the very beginning. I'm the one who held Sir Eugene back, just because I kept going around calling myself his best friend." As he spoke, Ganzedric coughed again. "It's all because I was too weak." In this moment, he remembered what had happened. Our relationship could have ended as a fleeting connection, but that one time, the moment Elgin stood in front of Ganzedric to protect him, his strength and inner fortitude captivated me in an instant. That was why he had secretly decided, "I don't want to lose this bond. I want to become strong enough to stand by your side." At that moment, the monster raised its hand, gathering a beam of power. Ganzedric, however, was completely calm. "Well, I guess this is it." A panicked Romani cried out, "Wait, Lord Ganzedric!" But before he could say anything more, Ganzedric grabbed him and threw him back. "Please forgive me, Lord Eugene." A rain of sharp thorns shot out. Eugene remained motionless, not reacting. They drew closer and closer to Ganzedric, but he still wore a smile. "If there's a next life, then I will be the knight who serves you, my friend." At that moment, Eugene's eyes snapped wide open, his blood-red pupils reflecting Ganzedric's final image. His eyes were wide, staring, and lifeless, fixed on the scene before him. His whole body seemed to have died. Ganzedric's death was like a trigger for Eugene.
He clenched his jaw tightly. His fangs instantly grew long, sharp, and cold. A terrifying surge of power erupted from his body, sweeping away everything around him. The immense pressure made even Romani swallow hard in fear. Eugene slowly picked himself up, his hand gently crushing the thorn that had pierced him. Blood flowed out, but it was quickly devoured by the surging power. Dark red energy wrapped around his body like living armor. In the blink of an eye, the man named Eugene was completely stained crimson. He vanished from his spot, shooting towards the monster at a terrifying speed. He swung his arm in a single decisive arc. One of the monster's giant arms was swiftly severed from its body. A look of astonishment flashed in the monster's eyes after taking a few basic hits. Eugene landed on a stone pillar. At its base, blood swirled like a red tide. Eugene's entire being seemed to have been completely transformed. His blood-red pupils had lost their focus. A sense of madness enveloped his body. Romani was terrified. What is this, Lord Eugene's body? It's changing. The monster now used its remaining hand to raise its axe, but Eugene didn't flinch, charging straight ahead, his gaze frighteningly cold. Romani couldn't believe it. The pool of blood around him, it's moving with Lord Eugene. He truly is different from ordinary vampires. He let out a small laugh. Master, perhaps today your disciple has witnessed a historic moment. Eugene stretched out his hand. Blood and energy merged into one, gathering in his palm to form a terrifying mass of pressure. He struck hard at the monster. The crimson force was compressed into a sharp point, it tearing through the monster's body, piercing straight from front to back. The eye on its body suddenly burst wide open after that attack. The blood at its feet began to stir in an unusual way. Romani quickly realized the pool of blood was suddenly shrinking. Streams of dark red blood began to fly back towards the monster, wrapping around its body. He slowly approached to observe. Even for a high-level monster, this rate of regeneration is too fast. It's as if it's receiving a healing spell. Romani's eyes suddenly widened. After that other eye opened and the pool of blood drained, the fatal wound had healed in an instant. Watching it regenerate its own body, he suddenly had a thought. Could it be that this labyrinth is using blood as the material to heal? The monster. In contrast to Romani's fear, Eugene suddenly charged forward without a hint of hesitation. He spun in midair and kicked his foot straight into the eye growing on the monster's body. Red liquid immediately gushed out. He was shocked. Blood is flowing from the eye. After that one blow, Eugene landed on a spot to launch himself again. The next moment, he sprang back once again, crushing the eye that had just barely begun to contract. But he didn't stop there. Eugene continued to circle the monster's body, unleashing a relentless barrage of blows, giving it no opportunity to recover. While fighting, he also realized, so it's true. The master of the labyrinth isn't the minotaur. The environment of the labyrinth was created so that humans could survive for a long time. And the hundreds of missing people, they were all devoured by this labyrinth. Eugene could secretly confirm it. This entire labyrinth is the god they offer sacrifices to and worship. As the monster struggled second by second, a prayer could be heard from somewhere. The god has flown into a rage and wishes to destroy this land. Only the Savior can prevent this. One by one, they clasped their hands and bowed their heads, begging. Eugene furiously attacked relentlessly and without mercy. The door slowly began to close. Oh, Savior, please come here. Please grant us your mercy. Let the rain fall upon this land. Lugat chuckled with a venomous smile. Yes, oh God, go even more berserk. Lose even more control. I have awakened you. Now it's your turn to listen to my prayer. After a series of attacks, the blood on the ground was gradually depleted. Even Romani himself was stunned. The pool of blood has been completely drained. The iron sphere in this air suddenly began to move. Purple light and bolts of lightning continuously radiated from it. An eye suddenly appeared in the center. At the same time, the smaller eyes around the sphere also lit up brightly. A pair of long wings suddenly sprouted from the monster's back. Right on its chest, another pair of giant eyes began to open. A swirling, malevolent power emanated from the monster's body, making the air around it heavy. It flapped its wings powerfully, and its colossal body immediately soared high into the air. Romani hurriedly shouted, "Wait! Where do you think you're going?" But the monster showed no hesitation. It shot straight up, broke through the sphere, and smashed through the labyrinth's ceiling, escaping to the outside. Romani's face went pale. A high-level monster. Escaped from a dungeon. I've never heard of such a thing. What do we do now? He suddenly remembered that there was a village of commoners right nearby. Mayon flew over joyfully. Eugene, I found the exit. But when she looked up, she couldn't help but stare, her eyes wide and her jaw agape. What is this? It's been completely destroyed. Rocks kept falling. Ian frantically dodged them. It's collapsing. He hurriedly warned Eugene, we have to get out of here. However, as he got closer, Ian was silenced by the power radiating from Eugene, who was now standing frozen. In front of him, Ganzedric's body remained standing, impaled by sharp spikes. Ian quietly called out, Eugene, but he didn't respond. A moment later, Eugene slowly approached him. Romani watched, wondering. Could a vampire really grieve for the death of a mere mortal? Eugene's eyes were fixed on the man before him. He raised a hand, touching the bloodstain on Ganzedric's face. Romani still couldn't believe what he was seeing, disguising himself as a knight hiding his identity. I've never seen a vampire build a relationship with a human, especially not one of such noble blood. Then something unexpected happened. Eugene tilted his head, slightly opened his mouth to reveal his sharp fangs, and aimed for Ganzedric's neck. Without hesitation, he bit down hard. The movement was decisive and precise. A ferocious monster leaped high into the air. Shortly after, it landed swiftly on its 2 feet and immediately emitted a brilliant spark of fire. A pair of fierce red eyes opened on the monster's chest. In the sky, the moon was crimson red, yet below, people went about their daily lives as usual. A voice called out, Eugene, sir, have you ever heard of the original vampires? Shizino began to explain, the original bloodline consists of the noblest and highest-ranking aristocrats among the vampire race. When I first met you, I didn't realize. But seeing you now, Sir Eugene, after your awakening, I understand that you, Sir Eugene, are a being who carries the blood of an original vampire. He looked serious and hesitant. And there is one more thing I wish to say. Shino stared intently at Eugene and said, original vampires can save the recently deceased and turn them into their vassals. He turned to look at Ganzedric, who was bowing his head as Shino asked, you already know how to create a vassal, don't you, sir? Eugene didn't answer, thinking to himself, of course I know. Bite their neck and transfer my blood through my fangs, but if I do that... A moment later he replied, I tried to create one before, but his spirit couldn't withstand it, so I could only use him as a disposable tool. Shino continued, with ordinary people that is indeed the case. He said confidently, but with Sir Ganzedric it might be different. This is something I heard from my master. Shizino pictured an image of Eugene, that if a person with an exceptionally strong spirit receives the blood of an original vampire, their sense of self will not collapse and they can even retain the abilities they had when they were human. I think it's well worth a try. He turned to look at Ganzedric, adding worriedly, the problem is, since he is a knight with great pride, he might see this forced vampire life as a humiliation. If so, there's a high chance he will attack us. Eugene remained silent, staring intently at Ganzedric, paying no mind to Shizino's words. What do you think, Sir Eugene? Ganzedric was severely wounded, his head hung low. Eugene thought, I never even revealed my true identity to him. So I have no way of knowing what this man thinks about the existence of vampires. He suddenly recalled fond memories of his time with Ganzedric and fell silent. Then he turned and walked away. Is there any other way? Eugene approached Ganzedric and opened his mouth wide, preparing to bite his neck. The only way is to ask him directly. Instantly, both of them began to glow red. Suddenly, Eugene's eyes widened in surprise as if he had discovered something. His fangs were already sunk deep into Ganzedric's neck. What is this? The blood transfer is too fast. I can't pull my fangs out. Eugene's eyes widened in alarm. The inheritance ritual is beginning. His body convulsed violently. A vassal is the property of their master. Under the blood right, the vassal's soul belongs to the master, and all of the vassal's power will also belong to the master. Only then is the inheritance ritual truly complete. From a distance, Eugene and Ganzedric were glowing. Suddenly, he looked up as multiple beams of light erupted from his body. At the same time, a powerful beam of light began to shine. It formed a powerful circle and shot straight into the sky. That light illuminated the entire mountain region. Over here, everything was burning fiercely. People were running in chaos, shouting, "Get away!" Two men looked up in fear. Is that magic? Overcome with fear, everyone quickly fled the area. The dungeon is collapsing. Run. A giant dragon suddenly appeared and began slaughtering the people there. The monster with the eye on its chest also appeared, reaching out to grab them.
Luget watched from a distance and said, "Finally, the time has come," as he smirked sinisterly. "The moment I receive my reward for offering a sacrifice to the dungeon." Luget stood high above, calmly watching everyone being annihilated. "These people will never know that this is all a play I orchestrated with the dungeon," he thought maliciously. "And at the moment this village's despair reaches its peak. From the Minotaur's attack, I will appear and defeat the Minotaur." A hand with a purple seal appeared. "This is the price of the contract I obtained after offering a sacrifice to the dungeon." Exploiting human nature, the more desperate they are, the more they yearn for salvation. I will become everyone's savior. He imagined the scene of people kneeling and begging before him. Luget laughed wickedly. "So die in greater numbers, despair even more, because then I will be worshipped all the more as a savior." More and more ferocious monsters appeared, slaughtering everything in their path. A little boy tripped and fell to the ground as his mother screamed in horror, "Judo!" The boy lay in pain on the ground, weakly trying to call out, "Mom!" But a wolf had already spotted them from behind, opening its jaws to devour its plump prey. The mother and son could only hug each other tightly in fear. Suddenly, a blow struck the monster, sending it flying. Eugene appeared out of nowhere, finished off the wolf, and sat nonchalantly on its mouth, his claws moving swiftly. He drove his claws straight into the wolf's mouth, then kicked its lower jaw with immense force. Just like that, he pried its mouth open with his hands and feet. The mother and son stared, mouths agape. They were stunned to see Eugene appear like a god and rescue them. Luget was also in utter shock. "Eugene, why is that man here?" He watched as Eugene casually took down the wolf, thinking, didn't the Minotaur already absorb Eugene's blood and awaken? Luget was so shocked he covered his mouth to keep from gasping aloud. "I'm certain I offered Eugene as the final sacrifice. He should definitely be dead. But how could he have returned completely unscathed like this? Could it be he awakened on the brink of death?" Luget narrowed his eyes, calculating. If that's the case, just what is that man's story? Standing atop the corpse of the wolf he'd just slain, Eugene calmly looked up and said, "You're making quite an interesting face there. Luget, I wonder, does Duke Zevin know you're the one who caused all this chaos?" He chuckled softly. "Ah, well, it doesn't matter now, because I am going to make you pay for your sins right here and now." Suddenly the tower was attacked, it suddenly split in two. Luget let out a sinister laugh as Ganzedric appeared at the same time, smiling. "Well, now, weren't you just dying to see me?" He then raised his clawed hand. "Now, it's time I returned the favor for the humiliation you caused me at the tournament. Are you ready to pay the price for daring to cross me?" Ganzedric stressed his words, "You fake cult leader Luget." A monster began to single-handedly tear through everything. The terrified crowd scattered. "Run." Amid the crisis, a figure appeared to face it. Eugene rushed forward, gathering a powerful magic attack in his hand. He launched the strike straight at the monster without a moment's hesitation. The fleeing people suddenly stopped in their tracks and shouted, "Wait, is someone fighting that monster?" "A knight, in black armor with red eyes," someone said after getting a clear look at the figure. One person cried out, "Isn't that Sir Eugene?" They couldn't help but erupt in joyful cheers. "He's here to protect our village. We're saved. That knight is risking his life for us." But a young man with hair covering his eyes suddenly spoke up. "You're wrong, everyone," he exclaimed. "He is our savior." The young man declared, "He is the one sent from the heavens to redeem us. The prophecies were true." At that moment, Eugene focused all of his strength. He unleashed a decisive attack, aiming straight for the eye in the center of the monster's body. His hand shot out and grabbed the eye, his 5 fingers instantly tightening their grip. Without a hint of hesitation, the flesh around the eye bulged unnaturally, as if squeezed to its absolute limit. Finally, Eugene thrust his arm straight through the monster's body. He completely shattered its life force. Amidst a sea of fire, blood erupted violently from the monster's body, spraying everywhere like a gruesome crimson rain. He stood silently amidst the scene. His red pupils glowed, his tall figure standing imposing amidst the cheers and awe of the onlookers. Elsewhere, as the monster was destroyed, the sigil on Luget's hand began to fade away. He collapsed in pain. The cultists who had been watching were stunned. "Our god has been defeated." Terrified, they turned to flee. "A calamity is upon us! Run!"
Luget coughed up a mouthful of blood and struggled to speak. Ugh, my followers, I have inherited the power of our god. He thrust his sword forward, roaring defiantly, I will become the god of the new age. Without hesitation, Ganzedric caught the blade with a single hand. He gave it a light squeeze and the sword snapped in two. What the hell? Ganzedric let the broken pieces fall from his hand and glared mockingly at Luget. Where did all that monstrous power from before disappear to? He was too stunned to speak. This man, was he always this strong? Just then someone landed beside the two of them. Ganzedric glanced over. Master, please give your command. Eugene's lips moved as he gave the order, leave none of them alive. Kill every last one of them. Luget finally panicked. Damn it! He turned to flee, but Ganzedric was already in hot pursuit. Luget still couldn't believe what was happening. Impossible. This can't be happening. It was so close. My goal was right there, right in front of me. Ganzedric quickly blocked his path. He cracked his knuckles, a smirk on his face, as he asked, Where are you off to in such a hurry, Lord Luget? You still have to pay for daring to pull a fast one on me. Luget let out a forced laugh. Ha ha ha! I knew it. From that bastard Eugene to you, neither of you are human. Amidst the flaming village, a desperate scream echoed. These damn monsters. At last, the long night's nightmare was over. And so, word of Luget's crimes spread throughout the Everglue territory. The village was left in ruins after the battle, but the sea of flames had been extinguished. The next day, amidst the cheers of the people, Eugene became the hero who saved the territory. Fresh flowers were scattered along the paths he walked. Ganzedric couldn't contain his joy, but to Eugene none of that mattered. He looked over at him. Just having Ganzedric return to him alive, that alone was more than enough. In a room brightly lit by the sun streaming through the window, Melian clutched her head and burst into tears, sobbing at Ganzedric. You reckless fool, do you have any idea how worried I was that you were going to be roasted into sausages by those orcs? Confused, he pointed at it and asked, Hey, what is this? Who do you think you are? Eugene feigned surprise. Oh, are you just now seeing me? He said dismissively, That's just someone who's been following me. Melian heard this and became furious. Is that really the only way you're going to introduce me? Sir Eugene, that's just too mean. With that, she flew up a little higher and formally introduced herself. Ahem, this young lady is not just someone, but I am the great water spirit Melian. Eugene. Oh, exclaimed. Well, now, she's a bit blurry, but I can see her. Melian was so excited she couldn't stop talking. By the way, as Sir Eugene's first contractor, all of you latecomers better be prepared to be my juniors. Before she could finish, Eugene suddenly snatched her out of the air. He explained, She's annoying and talks too much, but she has her uses. Normally, humans can't see spirits. But maybe because you all are always around me, you can see her. Eugene looked at Ganzedric and emphasized, Especially you now that you're my subordinate. He instructed Ganzedric, From now on, you are only to drink animal blood. For me, drinking monster blood a few times a month is enough. I'm not sure how it will be for you, though. He looked down at his own hands deep in thought. The life of a vampire, huh? Ganzedric suddenly wondered. So, do I have to avoid sunlight now? Melian pointed her finger warningly. Hey, you're a vampire, so of course you do. Do you want to be burned to ash and dust? But he ignored her words and suddenly ran straight outside. Let me just try it. She cried out in fear, that complete idiot. Do you know how much Sir Eugene has suffered just to avoid the sun? Melian was scared stiff, but Eugene suddenly stared in shock, his mouth agape. Under the sunlight, Ganzedric seemed completely fine. He shrugged nonchalantly. What was all that fuss about? I'm fine. Eugene also found it hard to believe. What in the world is going on? Eugene, in contrast, seemed calm. Sir Eugene is a progenitor vampire. He explained, getting burned to death by the sun is something that only happens to lesser vampires. Progenitor vampires are a noble race that stands above all others, so walking around during the day is no problem for them. Sir Ganzedric is the fledgling of a progenitor, so of course he's perfectly fine as well. Hearing this, Eugene also tried stepping out into the sun. He lowered his protective barrier, exposing the skin on his hand, but nothing happened. Eugene couldn't help but be surprised. I'm really okay. He mocked himself, then why the hell did I suffer like that for so long? Ganzedric suddenly threw an arm around Eugene's shoulders, grinning. What was it you told me before an elf, was it? He teased. I see now what the real reason was. The reason you always wore a hood under the sun and turned down all my requests for a sparring match, Eugene explained. That was the best I could do back then. Ganzedric said, well then, you're all out of excuses to say no now, aren't you? I'm looking forward to sparring with you from now on, you... For some reason, he couldn't say Eugene's name properly. Ganzedric tried again. You... Sijin reminded him. You are no longer allowed to call Sir Eugene by his name anymore. From now on, you must call him Master. He was stunned. What, no way? Why? Sijin stressed. Because you are now Sir Eugene's fledgling. Ganzedric protested. There's no such rule. Before I was his fledgling, we were best friends. Sijin shrugged. It's no use telling me that. Back on the night of the battle after Eugene bit Ganzedric's neck to revive him, he had stated bluntly, you are no longer human now. Eugene affirmed this was the only way to save your life. He also warned him, but from now on, your life will have many restrictions and dangers. It might have been better to have simply died. Unable to look Ganzedric in the eyes, Eugene turned his back on him. If you feel betrayed, you don't have to follow me. Saving you was nothing more than a momentary whim of mine. Ganzedric stood stunned for a few seconds, trying to process everything that had just happened. Just as Eugene began to walk away, he suddenly spoke. That's a pretty harsh thing to say, my friend. Ganzedric struggled to his feet and said frankly, it doesn't matter whether I'm human or not. What's important is that I've taken a liking to you, and the truth is that my life was saved by someone like that. Eugene stopped walking and glanced back at him. Ganzedric smiled brightly, accepting it all. You think I'm some ungrateful wretch who wouldn't repay the person who saved him kin. Whatever you want to call it is fine by me, he declared with determination. I will follow you for the rest of my life. Back in the present, Ganzedric and Sijin were still bickering loudly. Hey, it's ridiculous to not call your friend by his name. He felt helpless. Honestly, why are you even telling me this? Eugene's lips curled into a smirk as he thought, I wonder if I should just sew that mouth shut for good. He suddenly remembered something and stopped his argument with Sijin. Oh, right. Ganzedric looked over at him and asked, Master, where are that blonde mushroom head and pate? Eugene glanced mysteriously in one direction and replied, I gave that bunch a secret mission. I wonder if they've finished it yet. Rebin briefly summarized the letter's contents for Eugene. The St. Hagen Monastery has sent a letter of thanks to you, Lord Eugene. They say that thanks to you, they were able to purge the dark cult's forces from within the monastery. He also added, the temple knights used forbidden anti-magic crystals to assault the labyrinth, and were expanding the dark cult's influence. When you arrived, you shouted, freeze! At that moment, Lord Eugene discovered the truth and sent mercenaries to apprehend them. Eugene didn't want to hear any more of these empty words. As far as I know, the temple knights are those who act according to a god's will. The fact that they voluntarily joined the labyrinth conquest is highly suspicious. He continued his analysis with rumors of the apocalypse spreading throughout the land. Which god's will could have made them voluntarily join the punitive force, he feigned helplessness. The St. Hagen Monastery is under the patronage of the Everglue family. It was founded on incredibly devout faith. If this disrespectful force hadn't been discovered in time, my family's honor might have been severely damaged. After that, Rebin expressed his gratitude. On behalf of the Everglue family, I extend our thanks to Lord Eugene. The people of the domain's respect for you is soaring to the heavens. He also expressed his hope. Please accept their praise and hospitality. Eugene immediately declined. It was my honor to help everyone. Now if you'll excuse us. Seeing them about to leave, Rebin called out, Ah, that's right. Also, he congratulated Sir Ganzedric on his safe return. It is wonderful that your companion has returned unharmed. Right after his party had left and was out of sight, Rebin's expression turned dark and grim, his thoughts unclear. At a tavern, the men were excitedly celebrating Sir Ganzedric's return, chatting enthusiastically. The rumors about whether you were dead or alive were pretty grim, you know. We thought you might never come back. He was excited. It's thanks to all of you that I was able to return safely. Ganzedric didn't forget to mention that being able to come back in one piece like this, it was largely thanks to the master. They grew even more enthusiastic. So you've decided to recognize Lord Eugene as your master. Lord Eugene, please allow us to honor you as our master as well. However, Eugene flatly stated, I refuse. They were heartbroken. You're so cruel, sir. While he secretly rejoiced, this beer has no taste at all. A vampire's tongue really is different. Just then Raban noticed something. But, Sir Ganzedric, your eye color is completely different from before, isn't it? Did something happen in the labyrinth? The question made Ganzedric freeze for a second. Then he suddenly grabbed Raban. You mushroom head, I heard you followed Pate and did a real number on that monastery this time, huh? Is it possible Pate praised you a little too much? Raban argued back. Don't you look down on me. I'm a proper mercenary now. He teased a proper mercenary, he says. The brown-haired man joined the conversation. Still, it's truly amazing that Lord Eugene managed to expose the monastery's true face. When I was reporting, Sir Rebin looked quite surprised himself. He gave a faint, knowing smile and asked, Oh, did he now? I wonder what could have surprised Sir Rebin. Do you really think the monastery sent that thank you letter out of genuine gratitude? The brown-haired man was astonished. Don't tell me you mean Lug Itz was made a scapegoat. Eugene revealed, To be precise, I let things unfold that way. I only ordered you all to deal with the temple knights. I never said to touch the abbot. Besides, he explained further if we had wiped out the entire monastery, and if I damage the honor of House Everglue, they'll use my interference with the monastery as a pretext to cause trouble. But if I leave them an escape route, then from their family's perspective, they'll just have to sacrifice that Lugates fellow and be done with it. The brown-haired man was even more stunned. If that's the case, he continued, then the only one taking action will be Sir Rebin. After speaking, Eugene called for Pate. He responded immediately. Understood. He gave his orders. We may have to leave the Everglue territory immediately tonight. He also warned them, and we must be extremely discreet. In a certain forest, a group of people was riding at full speed. The band of mercenaries looked to be in a great hurry. Raban screamed in terror, Boss Glatt, we're sure rounded. What do we do now? Glatt snapped at Raban. Get a grip. The assassin observed riding a black steed and cloaked in a black leather robe. It was him, John Eugene. Inside, the assassin seethed with hatred. Even if Lug Itz was a sinner, he was still a knight of this domain, especially favored by Lord Zeppelin. Lord Zeppelin was in immense pain that he could not punish the man with his own hands because he had died by Ganzedric's. The assassin believed that this was not only a deception against Lord Rebin, but also a stain on his honor. Fueled by this grudge, he was determined to hold him accountable for it. I will carve up that pretty face of yours. As he got a clear look at his opponent's face, Jan Eugene was stunned by his own thought of the word pretty. In that moment of distraction, Eugene struck, killing him from behind. Stop, he commanded instantly. The horses came to a halt as the forest abruptly loomed before them. The enemy, realizing they had been ambushed, cursed in frustration. Damn it! Macaulay immediately ordered them to fall back and regroup, but he was blocked. Where do you think you're going? At that moment, a loud laugh echoed. You're the ones who are surrounded. They had the assassins cornered right there. Ganfredick was full of admiration. A brilliant strategy, Master. Your swordsmanship has gotten much cleaner, too. He then added curiously, as expected when using a real sword on horseback, using a saber is the most logical choice. When did you learn to do that? He replied nonchalantly. I learned it from you, of course. Ganfredick was stunned. Huh. Then he said shyly, Is that so? When did I ever teach you that? Eugene thought to himself, but it's not entirely wrong. He recalled that moment. When I transfused my blood into his body, all the skills and combat experience that Ganfredick had accumulated that were transmitted into my mind. At the same time, a strange thing happened. A voice rang in my ear. A kin is the possession of their monarch. To this day, Eugene still doesn't know whose voice that was. He had always wondered, was I hearing things? Or was it a divine will from above? Just then the man spoke up. Sir Ganfredick, how can you be so shameless after insulting Lord Rebin? Macaulay angrily criticized him. You're ungrateful to the man who was going to recommend you as a territorial knight. You were so weak you nearly died in the dungeon. And now you're blaming it all on Lord Lugitz. Eugene lost his patience. Chirp, chirp, you're so noisy. Ganfredick pretended he just noticed a familiar face. Oh, if it isn't Sir Macaulay. Still doing well, I see. Enraged, the man drew his sword. I trust you're all prepared to die. I will only let one of you leave here alive. Ganfredick quickly tried to persuade him. Hold on, master. Don't do it. How about we treat them as prisoners of war? Eugene asked doubtfully. Prisoners of war, Ganfredick explained. Respecting the honor of a brave enemy is an age-old custom, you know. However, the more important point he wanted to make was, if we demand a ransom. Ganfredic's eyes gleamed with delight. We could make a fortune. Even so, Eugene was determined not to let them off. So, as long as their four limbs are intact, it's fine, right? Ganfredic was bewildered. Huh? And so Eugene compromised. Fine. I won't touch their joints. What followed were echoing pleas for mercy. I was wrong. Later, despite being covered in injuries, the man had a happy smile on his face. Hooray for Brazeller, he said warmly, welcoming Lord Eugene. Can we really stay here? This is the first time I've ever seen prisoners treated so kindly. Don't worry, Lord Eugene. We can certainly cover the cost of their room and board. He nodded. That's good. At the same time, Eugene suggested, as for these guys, just get the ransom from Lord Jebin. Don't let their appearance fool you. They're all territorial knights, so they're worth quite a lot. She was surprised. Lord Jebin as in the eldest son of the Everglue family. In addition, he made another request. Also, I'd like to ask you to repair this armor for me. Brazeller gasped in admiration. They say not even a dragon's tooth can pierce this, and yet it was pierced so easily by a simple iron bar. She immediately accepted. I'll reinforce it to be much stronger for you. Eugene then proposed, while you're at it, make a new set of armor for Ganfredic. Ganfredic was overjoyed. Master, I get one too. He replied coldly, of course, you're my man now. You have to maintain some dignity. This made Ganfredic even happier. Truly, Master, I was absolutely right to follow you. Brazeller silently acknowledged. My judgment of people really is spot on. To think he even recruited the renowned knight Ganfredic. Her mind started calculating. He always brings back tons of valuable items. What's the cost of a few sets of armor? How could I possibly skimp on the perks for a VIP customer? Brazeller thought to herself. With this level of power, he's definitely going places. Based on this, she tried to probe. Lord Eugene, if you don't mind me asking, have you decided where you'll be going next? Eugene didn't hide it. For now, I plan to continue clearing the high-level areas of the dungeon. That was all Brazeller needed to hear. She proposed, if you want to achieve great things, then you're going to need a lot more money, model. I know of an interesting playground. What do you think, Lord Eugene? You seem quite interested in this as well. Gavin furiously slammed his hand on the table. Damn it! He flew into a rage, cursing one name after another. Useless every last one of them, and they dare call themselves knights of the family. Everglue couldn't handle a single knight, and even got captured as prisoners of war. Gavin thought of Eugene, and his eyes narrowed. He knew that guy was stronger than Luger Itz, but he never imagined it would be to this extent. He stared into the distance, pondering. Are we just going to let this go? Spare the one who dared to kill a knight on our land! Then Gavin looked down at the floor as if he had just realized something. He looked at the map on the floor, thinking, wait a minute. Gavin hastily picked the map up. Come to think of it, he came here through an introduction from the Merchant Guild, the Balin Guild. His next destination must be a demon realm contracted with the Balin Guild. He focused intently. The demon realm still under contract with that guild is... Instantly, Gavin gave a triumphant, cunning smirk. It's obvious where he's headed now. He had spotted a location on the map, the Philia Ruins on the Subjugation Peninsula. Outside on a boat gliding smoothly across the water, a voice suddenly spoke up. Master, have you heard? They say that on the Subjugation Peninsula, the influence of the KL Central Church is practically zero. Ganzedric turned to ask about Marquis Archibald, the man who once united that peninsula. He was a religious fanatic. I heard he lost his position for his tyrannical rule. That's why the situation there is so chaotic. But Eugene asked in surprise, is that so? Ganzedric eagerly continued. As soon as the Marquis' domain collapsed, the Bishop of Spagan also fled, losing the trust of the people. Eugene replied coldly, that's good news. Ganzedric chuckled smugly. Right. Marion flew over in a panic, pointing and yelling, Sir, sir! She shrieked in alarm. The sorcerer over here is about to die. Sigino was on his knees on the ground, retching repeatedly. Ganzedric exclaimed in surprise, Well, well! He walked over and grimaced. This seasick, huh? Why didn't you just stay on land? Why did you insist on coming along? Sigino struggled to push himself up with trembling hands. That's because... His face was pale, but he still tried to explain, I thought the magic of our blood phantom sect would be of great help to the noble progenitor. Ganzedric snapped impatiently. Spit out your real reason, you scheming snake. Sigino immediately replied, It's because I need lots of byproducts from mid to high-level monsters to create a chimera. He raised his hand and proclaimed, "Researching and creating my own chimera is the ultimate mission and goal of our sect." But immediately after he put on a show, thumping his chest and saying, "However, my desire to help Lord Eugene is also genuine, I assure you."
"I swear it on my honor, my sect, and my magic," Eugene sighed. "Sounds pretty suspicious."
Ganzedric then relayed,
"Master, this guy begged us not to leave him behind."
Sijino asked worriedly,
"And if we're talking about motives, what about that spirit over there? A spirit making a contract with a vampire?"
Eugene wasn't really paying attention, his mind on gold coins. I get to travel and earn gold at the same time. Is there any reason not to do this? He turned to Marion and asked, "Are spirits obsessed with money too?" She wasn't one to back down and shot back immediately. "If you want to criticize me, you'd better pay me in gold first." Ganzedric laughed and said to Eugene, "Well, I suppose everyone has their own reasons for coming along. But isn't it ultimately because they all recognize your greatness, Master?" He looked at the people in front of him and said, "Take those mercenaries over there. They're probably following you only because they look up to you, Master." The men were arm wrestling with each other. "Come on, put your back into it." The excited onlookers shouted relentlessly, "Push harder, kid!" The brown-haired man laughed confidently. "Ha ha ha, I could still switch to using just my fingers right now, you know?" The blonde-haired man struggled desperately to resist.
Ganzedric asked curiously. "That reminds me, what is your goal, Master? I don't think I've ever heard
you speak of it seriously."
Hearing this question,
Eugene pondered to himself, "A goal, huh? I only have two things in mind."
His crimson eyes suddenly grew pensive.
Memories and revenge. Eugene recalled his terrifying past. "I have to recover all of my memories to know what kind of being I once was, and I must use the Crimson Demon Stone to become stronger so I don't die a pathetic death like in my past life." Another side of him surfaced, especially that damn holy knight who killed me, and the central church of the KL Kingdom. They relentlessly persecute vampires, so I can't let my guard down for even a moment. Ganzedric watched Eugene's somber expression and grew quiet himself. But then he smiled and spoke up to break the heavy silence. "If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. Actually, it doesn't matter what my master's goal is. After all, it's thanks to him that I have a new life." Ganzedric let out an excited laugh. "It looks like a lot of interesting things are going to happen from now on. This is really something to look forward to." Eugene turned in surprise and asked, "Don't you want fame and fortune?" Then he said in one breath, "This is my fame. A knight should seek honor in battle. Plus, I get to enjoy the sun while traveling like this. What could be more wonderful? If I were dead, I wouldn't be on this brilliant sea voyage. I'd probably be drifting on the dark river of the underworld by now." Finally, Ganzedric concluded, "Thank you once again, Master." He grinned from ear to ear. "Your goal is my goal, so please just give the order. No matter where or what, I will always be by your side." Eugene said nothing, only glancing at the carefree Ganzedric laughing beside him. Magian flew over from somewhere and said cheerfully, "Eugene, Sir Eugene, I do love gold coins, but I like being by your side much more," it said excitedly. "But we're still going to keep collecting gold to build a golden castle, right?" Right. Cugino raised his hand and said, "I'll also help to the best of my ability." The people behind him chimed in excitedly, "Us too. Chivalry can't be bought with money." Sijin-O immediately drooped his head and pleaded instead, "Please, just give me a few more monster byproducts." Eugene replied, "That will depend on your contribution." He sounded lifeless and dejected, saying, "Ahem, I'll do my best." Eugene let out a sigh. "It's a hassle, but it seems the number of people I need to protect is growing." But then, his troubled eyes narrowed, but how strange. Unconsciously, Eugene smiled gently. That hassle didn't feel bad at all. On a beautiful morning in the port city of Mofern on the KS Bajin Peninsula, Vezon arrived with a few soldiers and introduced himself. "Greetings, Sir Eugene. I was sent by the branch manager of the Bogin Merchant Guild's Mofern branch. I've been sent to welcome you. I am Vezon, captain of the mercenary group in charge of guiding you to Baron Beagle's domain." He then inquired, "Since the schedule is tight, I'd like to take you there right away. Would that be all right?" Eugene replied decisively, "Yes, let's do that." And so they set off together. Baron Beagle's domain was one of the few places on the KS Ba-Jin Peninsula that properly managed a demon realm. Vezon explained the situation. "However, for the past few months, things have been very difficult. We can't even hunt a single mid-tier monster." Eugene asked tensely, Is it because of the wyverns? He immediately confirmed that's correct. The fearsome monsters emerged through Vezon's tail. They're so cunning they attack at any time to disrupt subjugation efforts. They use harpies to weaken the subjugation force, and then attack directly. As Eugene listened, he thought, as expected of high-tier monsters, this might be a chance to get a red demon stone. Vezon cautiously advised, therefore, if we run into bandits, it's best to just pay a small toll to keep things peaceful. Eugene wondered, what do wyverns have to do with bandits? The man put on a threatening expression, then stammered, well, that's... Vezon recalled the old man's warning. This is the knight sent by Vice Branch Manager Brizeller himself. You must not be disrespectful, understood? Afterward, Vezon was wary and worried. I can't just use the excuse that he looks like some pampered noble brat who's been spoiled since birth, can I? It'll be a huge problem if he dies at the hands of bandits before we even arrive. He glanced at Ganzedric. That knight Ganzedric looks strong, but that Eugene guy is definitely a typical noble, and who just leeches off others to gain fame. Immediately, Vezon spoke up again. After all, Sir Eugene, your goal is to subjugate the demon realm, not to fight bandits. This guy doesn't seem very trustworthy. Eugene then ordered his horse to turn around, and after that he slowly and quietly advanced deeper into the forest. Eugene turned back and ordered, Ganzedric! Ganzedric quickly rushed forward, responding, Yes, master! Vezon exclaimed in shock. Huh? Immediately, Eugene raised the spear in his hand, preparing to attack something. He forcefully threw the spear, sending it flying straight towards the people in front of him. That group looked bewildered and panicked. Damn it! A man in a black cloak angrily gnashed his teeth. Damn it, we've been exposed to attack. After that, those strangers quickly surrounded them from the front. Vezon gnashed his teeth in anger. An ambush! But there was clearly no presence at all. How in the world did Sir Eugene detect them? Eugene rode his horse forward and signaled, Vezon, you and your men do not leave your positions. Protect the carriage. Vezon panicked and shouted, trying to stop him. Wait, Sir Eugene, he said worriedly. Just pay the toll. Picking a fight will only put you in needless danger. Hearing those words, Eugene looked annoyed, shot them a glance, and then brushed them off. You're overthinking this. He immediately called out, Let's go, Ganzedric. Ganzedric spurred his horse and quickly followed. Understood. Vezon drew his sword. Damn it, I had a bad feeling about this from the start. Just as he thought. He watched Eugene's back and cursed under his breath. That arrogant, irresponsible noble. Eugene gripped his sword, saying unhappily, Just by looking at the material you can tell this is a high-grade weapon. He looked over at the wretched group and demanded loudly, How did scum like you get your hands on this? The men knelt down and their leader confessed honestly, We took it from a braggart who claimed he stole it from the Phytro family, sir. Please, take everything. Just spare my life. The entire group desperately begged to live. I'll even be your slave, just don't kill me. Eugene's group looked on in disgust. Eugene looked at the bald-headed leader and continued. But including the ones outside, there are too many of you. The food costs would be immense. The man immediately panicked and promised, That's no problem, sir. I don't get hungry, I can starve. Just give me water and I'll be fine. Vezon looked at Eugene's cold expression and thought to himself, Unbelievable. Vezon found it hard to believe as he recalled everything. To think he wiped out the bandit gang that plagued our village in just 2 days. He really is the one sent directly by the vice chief of the Balian Merchant Guild. What a difference. That bald leader looked so menacing before, but now he's sobbing and begging, Please spare my life. He frowned and sighed. He was so defiant back in the village, and now he's kneeling this easily. Eugene finally spoke. So be it. We're already behind schedule. Let's go. His companion beside him flushed slightly at this. Another man ran up into panic, calling out respectfully, Wait, Lord Eugene, what do you plan to do with the rest of the bandits? Eugene asked, confused, What do you mean? He and the other villagers spoke up, bewildered. Didn't you come here to protect us? I just assumed that was a given. Eugene looked at the crowd, feeling a bit helpless, and pressed his lips together. Just as the space fell silent, GLF Zedek ran up, threw an arm around Eugene's shoulder, and burst out laughing. Ha ha ha! It's obvious they want to make you their master. The lord of this village, Eugene replied, confused. What? And then, all the villagers present shouted in unison, Our village needs a righteous man like you, Lord Eugene. Please! Watching Eugene from behind Vezon was suddenly startled. Wait a minute. Didn't we already deal with all the bandits on the way here? Suddenly he realized something. This is a chance to live under the protection of an outstanding knight. Vazan then ran forward, calling out, "Lord Eugene!" Eugene reacted, "What is it?" He continued with his proposal, "May I say something?" Vazan looked at the kneeling bandits below and said, "The bandits you just defeated were a notorious force in this region, but you've killed or captured most of them. As slaves." Eugene, wanting to hear more, asked, "And?" He explained further. "This village and its surroundings are now a territory without a master. In other words, if you wish, you could become its lord right away." Just then the spirit Mian, who was perched on Eugene's shoulder, was also quite startled. It whispered in his ear, "Master, become the lord, please, please." Eugene shot at a glance. Eugene seriously considered the matter. Having power and status isn't a bad thing. It's an intangible strength that could help keep the central church in check. But for me, the most important thing is the Crimson Demon Stone. Is the title of Lord worth diverting resources from my search for it? Then he suddenly glanced toward a noise. Outside, someone frantically threw open the door, shouting, "Lord Eugene, we're in trouble." The man ran inside and reported, "The bandits we captured as slaves have stolen the horses and escaped, sir." He quickly explained the situation. It seems a few of them hid pieces of metal in their mouths to cut the ropes. The man panted as he spoke, "And because they attacked all at once, Jaban was injured while bringing them food. Avenge me." Immediately, everyone turned their expectant gazes to Eugene. "Will you pursue them, sir?" He replied quietly, "I'm thinking." Eugene turned to the man. "Batist, are you injured as well?" Batiste was a little startled and replied, "I'm fine, sir. It's just a small scratch on the back of my hand." Batiste said that most of the blood was Jaban's. Eugene erupted in fury. "How dare they mere bandits have the audacity to harm one of my mercenaries?" Eugene stormed off, shouting angrily, "I will not let a single one of them live." This left the other men in disbelief. What's with this sudden change in attitude? Am I imagining things? Ganzedric chased after Eugene, calling out, "Master, I'm ready too." He just smiled and instructed, "You are to stay here and protect the village. And pass this message to the village chief. Tell him that I accept his offer to become lord, so he should treat the wounded." Ganzedric followed him excitedly and replied, "Oh, I understand, master. No, I should call you lord now, shouldn't I?" Eugene left Ganzedric behind and walked on alone, silently vowing to himself that weeds must be pulled out by the roots. In another town, the scene was utter chaos. Villagers were screaming to each other, "Fire! There's a fire! Bring water quickly!" A group of people stood by calmly. They stood outside watching the blaze, chatting. When I was captured, I overheard them saying they were heading to the Philia ruins to hunt avens. They casually sat on their horses, tossing torches down into the small town, making it burn even more. They're from Maran, so they'll probably leave as soon as the hunt is over, or die at the hands of an Avon. The man laughed wickedly and declared, "When that Black Knight leaves, the Ba'anan will take this place back." When the man saw the group, he yelled, "Halt!" He menacingly rode his horse toward them, shouting, "Who are you people? You're the ones who set fire to the church, aren't you?" One of the villagers, carrying water to douse the flames, shouted back in anger, "Thanks to that Black Knight killing off some of the bandits around here, it's finally been easier to breathe." What did you say?" The thug drew his sword and declared, "Now then, from this day forward, we are your masters, The man began slashing indiscriminately, slaughtering the townspeople as he cackled madly. "From now on, I'll take the heads of anyone who looks at me wrong." The people screamed in agony. One of the villains shouted with delight, "If we can take the silver mine in those mountains, we'll be set." Just then Eugene appeared, his voice filled with fury. "A silver mine? So that's why the situation in Cancervagan was in such chaos. No wonder the banditry has been so rampant." The thugs' group was attacked, and they immediately panicked, screaming, It's the Black Knight!" Elgin walked through pools of foul blood, growling as he moved, leaving a trail of blood to run away. "And this is as far as you could get. Is this the best you can do?" Eugene lowered his gaze slightly. "Hopelessly foolish." The rest of them fell into a panic scattering. Arg! How did he find us all the way out here?" "You're coming with me, you son of a bitch!" A bandit who had been so arrogant just moments before was now kneeling in pain, crying out, "Please forgive me, just one more time. I truly surrender this time." But in the next instant, a slash flew towards him, and all he could manage was a choked, Eugene immediately swooped past, and the life of that beast was no more. He spared no one. Horrified screams echoed everywhere. "Ah, this monster!" Eugene continued to mercilessly slaughter the worthless bandits. One of them was struck so hard he spat blood, his eyes wide with horror. He impaled the bodies of those beast-like bandits with his sword, showing no mercy. Afterwards, Elgin walked over and pulled his sword from those filthy corpses. Then he let out a soft breath and turned, glancing towards the distance. The town was still burning fiercely. The poor townspeople were still trying with all their might to extinguish the cruel flames. Elgin walked over and spoke. "Do not be afraid." He strode forward and introduced himself to the people. "I am the Knight Jan Elgin. The trash that intended to take over Minton no longer exists." Eugene stood there proud and imposing, bringing a sense of security to the entire town, he said. "So don't be afraid anymore. You can rest easy." Eugene continued, "I will protect this village." Suddenly he felt something was off. He dodged, not letting the hidden weapon harm him. Eugene caught the projectile, gritting his teeth silently. An arrow. He looked in the direction it came from, thinking to himself. From the direction of the deep forest. The feeling is strange. Eugene stepped forward, telling himself, from that direction, I can sense the powerful aura of a high-level monster from the demon realm. I must be careful. After that, Elgin headed straight for a path leading into the dark forest. In the forest, Del Mondo walked for a while, observing with disgust. This is the hunting ground I've already claimed. Del Mondo found the weapon left behind by the assassin and sneered, "That foolish outsider has no professional ethics." He cursed in frustration, "And no lineage to speak of either." Just then Elgin arrived at the same spot. Del Mondo sized Elgin up. Blood-sucking fangs and red eyes. Eugene swung his sword, attacking him directly. After dodging, Del Mondo spoke arrogantly. "Humph, so you're a vampire too. Why so surprised?" He cupped his face and exclaimed, "Ah, well, you're an outsider with no lineage, so of course you'd be surprised. That must be why you look so pathetic." Del Mondo, full of arrogance, brushed back his hair and challenged Eugene. "Come now. The cold blue blood of the Nopperdos family flows through me. I, Del Mondo, command you." Del Mondo fixed his gaze on Eugene, pinning him with it as he commanded, "Now kneel, you mongrel outsider."